All right, then. Since it's Saturday night, might as well go ahead and shoot the breeze. Welcome back to another episode of Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze, a segment of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. The Bitter Medicine Podcast is part of a podcasting network called KWAZ Radio. Check out the website. Check out the merch store at www.kwazradio.com. Let's check it out, man. Support us, and that also inspires us to do more. When you support, you know what it is. I like to pop up here early before we officially start the show and let you know what kind of topics we have tonight. We're gonna look at a video. You might have seen this week. Black guy, I forget where he's from. He was talking about several things about Pan-Africanism and stuff like that. So we're gonna look at that video and ask, is he right? Do the chickens come home to roost? You guys could answer that one in the chat early. Do chickens come home to roost? I tend to think so. We're gonna look at a scenario and we're gonna answer the question: is this good propaganda techniques? And also, why don't we black folks do this? We'll talk about it in a second. We're going to look at another scenario of a black woman who claims that black men don't want her. We're going to look at, remember the TV show Martin? I just rewatched a couple of old episodes of Martin the other day. It still holds up. It's still funny. If you could, take that kind of humor. One of his characters he played was Dragonfly. You guys remember Dragonfly Jones? So we have a prompt here tonight that says, why didn't we put Dragonfly in a video game? What should another character be? If we had put Dragonfly, if we had created, black folks, had taken Dragonfly, put it in a video game ourselves, what would another character be that you'll put in at the same time? In the last prompt, we have the prompt simply says, is he correct? And I know I watched it, and I can't remember what it was. But is he correct? We'll talk about it tonight as well. We got Anthony McPhail out there saying peace to Bitter Medicine. And they drop a one for me if you can hear me. I usually ask that early on for folks to let me know if I can be heard. Because you know me, I be having problems with StreamYard. Problems with streaming, period. Someone can drop a one, let me know. Yes, I need to drop a one so he can hear me. I appreciate you. Thanks for that. Thanks for coming through too, by the way. So that's what we have in store for tonight. Again, check out kwazradio.com. By checking it out, by supporting some of the merch, not only do you support Podcast Network, not only do you support the shows, but you also inspire us to try new things, to take some chances with our content, and not just that, but to actually try things within this work that we try to do within Pan-Africanism. Whatever it is you do within Pan-Africanism, that's the work that you do. And the work that we're trying to do, you help us by supporting the website, support the merch in particular. So I'm going to start the show officially now. On the other side, I'll drop shoot the breeze topic number one, as well as welcome any and all of my panelists this week. So stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
So Anthony was saying my audio was breaking up, but I don't see any issue on my end. But again, who knows? What I could do tonight is perhaps, if my audio is too bad, I'll let someone else control the dialogue, and I'll just control putting up the prompts and the comments and stuff. So you guys will let me know. In the meantime, looks like I got some company with me here. Let me welcome in my first few panelists. Anthony McPhail is here. Anthony, how are you this week?
How you doing, Coco? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good now, Coco. It was breaking up for a minute, but it's straightened up now, though.
Okay, I appreciate you. I appreciate you letting me know. Thanks for being here too, by the way.
Yeah, man. Hey, man.
Oh, did Anthony freeze, or is that me?
Yeah, I think he freeze. He might have to go out and come back in, Coco.
Yeah. Anthony, if you can hear us, go back out and come back in, all right? Because you froze up on screen there. In the meantime, let me help Anthony to get out of the room. In the meantime, Buana, how are you this week?
I'm great. It's raining out here right now. It's raining very, very heavy. But I'm good though. Coco.
All right. I hope your connection holds up tonight.
Yes. I hope that I hope they don't cut me off, but we'll see how it goes.
Yes, sir. So there it is. If Buana cuts out, we know what's up. Kofi's out in the chat. He hit number 1. Let us know that he can hear us. So shout out to everyone who's out here, everyone who's here so far. We'll let Anthony go out and come back. In the meantime, I guess we could go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight says, is he right? Do the chickens come home to roost? This came with a link. Kofi, you might be on a bit of a delay. Thanks for letting us know. This come with a link that's taking us to Twitter. Hold on, let me just let Anthony back in.
Right, hey, Coco. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, Coco, it wasn't you. It was my internet, my thing messed it up. It was me. Coco.
Yeah.
It was me. It was mine. My internet messed it up.
But,
yeah. Let me mute, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. So, no problem. No need to apologize here, man. For real. Especially not you. Should be something. One says, is he right? Do the chickens come home to roost? This is a tweet from Tassetti, Reloaded 2. It says, quote, the chickens are coming home to roost, a quote from Malcolm X. Let's see what this brother is talking about in this video, and then we'll discuss it.
This is the most racist thing I am willing to admit on this app. and this is in reference to the last video I posted. You can go check my profile and see the video I posted, and it's a bit controversial. It's been causing the comments are pretty interesting. So for me, the most racist thing I am willing to admit on this app is I get this tiny bit of joy from policies that destroy the Black community. I get a joy knowing that whatever it is that you introduce into the Black community to destroy the Black community, in about 20 or so years, it'll transfer over to the white community. Yeah. So every policy that has been put in place pre-1990 to destroy the Black community now affects every white community. We're usually the test case. We're the test subjects for everything. See, there's two groups of people, right? There's the haves and the have-nots. And the haves sat down and they're like, yo, how do we stop the have-nots from coming for us? How do we stop that? And they're like, divide them. So they went to the have-nots and said, you have Mr. Have-Not, you're not a nigger. And I'm going to show you that's the best possible thing to happen to you in this world. You're not Black. So they started putting in laws to disenfranchise Black people. And right now, everyone who's complaining, every millennial, every Gen Z who's complaining about the system, yep, I'm a little bit happy because your parents, your grandparents saw those laws being put in for Black people, and they were happy because it meant, now those niggers can never catch up to us. A couple of decades later was good. Now your grandkids are facing the same thing. So every policy that's put into place to disenfranchise Black people is a test subject for everybody else. We're usually the test subjects. So when you see something in the Black community and it's brand new and you see Black people complain about it, no, you better hop on board. Because if you don't, by the time it goes to the white community, it's too late to change it. What, college loans? You think they're going to roll that back now? No. HOA? You think they're going to roll that back now? No. Food prices, everything that's going on that you're complaining about right now. Like, how do I say that? Right now, the average white American understands what it means to be Black. The only difference is they still believe that when they look at their skin, they at least are not Black. So that's what I'm willing to admit is every policy that destroys the Black community, when I see white people ignore it, the only joy I have is your kids and your grandkids will understand. They'll understand exactly what we've been talking about. And here we are. So this is in reference to the white guy who commented on the video I posted, was talking about how we needed to let boys be boys. We need to stop destroying boys. Excuse me, sir. Now, after they started coming for white men, white boys, now you sad? When they were coming for Black boys since God knows when, and it meant those Black boys were not becoming the Black men who could challenge you or compete with you, you were absolutely happy with it. Now that white boys are now starting to go through the same, and there's nothing to, who are you going to the haves and have-nots, there's nothing to compete with. You here in the mud with us. So to that guy, you're the reason I'm making this video. I don't want to comment on that video, but yeah. So those kids you want to defend, those boys you want to protect, yeah, it's too late, bro. It's too late. Sit back and watch your son become whatever the haves have decided he needs to become.
Yeah, I get the brethren. I just don't like. I don't, even though something that was set up for us affects them, it still fucked us up. So I don't really want to celebrate the fact that they got fucked up after. That's one thing. I could kind of see where he might be coming from. He probably didn't think the whole damn thing through, quite frankly. But yeah, I don't like that because it means that we got fucked up. And what we supposed to be aiming for is to be in a place where they can't fuck us up. They don't fuck themselves up, right? But we can't be the one sitting up here, the test dummy. You know, we can't be the one sitting there being the experiment. And side note, by the way, they know that's going to happen to some of their kids in the future. They know it. They have determined that some other people are going to be losers too. So if we fucking over black people and you want to follow that shit in their minds, yeah, well, you'll just replace the old losers. And yeah, these things that we do to them, they'll fuck y'all up too. So that's my little issue with the. I think I get it if you didn't really put the full thought through on it, but the last part is important. They already know this. So this appeal to white folks to get on board and help us, help me, because of what could happen to you in the future. That's a weak stance to take. And we cannot celebrate our people getting fucked up and then celebrate when they get fucked up behind it. That doesn't matter if they got fucked up or not. What matters is we did. But I'll come off my my soapbox there. Before we get into it, let's welcome two new panels who joined us. Black Steel, how are you this week?
I'm doing great, Coco. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I appreciate you being here. Let's welcome in. Let's invite Kofi in this week too. Kofi, how are you?
I'm doing good, Coco. I'm doing great. Thanks for having my back as always on my channel yesterday. Thank you for that. And Buana. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. Kofi in the chat says so far I disagree with him. So I'll start with Kofi on this one. Kofi, what are your thoughts overall here?
I don't know if yeah, they do, but I don't know if I missed what he said because I don't understand the context of what he's saying. As far as like the parallels that black people or like white people are in the mud with us, and certain policies that we're the guinea pigs, and once it happens to them, then it transfers over to them. So there's little nuggets of truth to what he's saying. So I do understand when they always say when black people, when white people get the cold, black people get the flu. The thing that I don't understand how it's correlating to what he's saying is that we black people in this country, in the United States, the only time we were on equal footing was during indentured servitude, when everyone was just indentured servant and they got treated bad until slavery became synonymous with blackness. Since then, white people has never been on an equal footing politically. But I do understand what he's saying when it comes to you have, hey, look, the reason for the person in Kansas living in a shack, hey, at least you're not a nigger, but you're poor, right? I get that. But it's still that whiteness is still a key to a lot of locks that a black person would never have. So, for instance, redlining, right? You could be poor as hell. Redlining is not going to affect you as a black person. You know what I'm saying? As a white person, that's not going to happen. So, again, maybe I missed the context in what he was saying, but I really don't agree with it because, yeah, there's poor white people, but I know I may be going off the topic a little bit, but when it comes to certain incentives that black people need, because there's black problems and there's white problems and there's American problems because we're all as citizens. We all know that black problems will never be directly addressed. So, for instance, like reparations or something like that. White people are not going to give black people, step over their poor white class to give poor black people to upper class rich black people a set of money. That's never going to happen. They're always going to take care of their base, which is socially, economically, and socially. They're always going to take care of their white base. So again, maybe I missed the beginning because I don't know what he was talking about specifically, but white people are never in the same mud hole as us. Never. It's just not a thing. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think you'll pick up the context of it more as more people discuss it. But I kind of broke it down. I think he's trying to say to white folks, help us, join us when we complain about stuff negative that's negatively impacting us. Join us, help us. Like crack, we complain about crack. We wanted help with that. You didn't care. You took pictures of us while we were jonesed out. You laughed. You won Pulitzers for the shit. And then some years later, now you guys have what's called the I forget how they put it again now, but
They call it oh man, I had it on the tip of my tongue. They call it mental health epidemic, a medical epidemic. But when I see what you're saying, but when it was crack, it's just lock the niggas up. They know what they're doing. They're criminals. Hillary Clinton said that they're deplorables and all that. But that goes to the point that I'm saying. When the same thing happens to them, it's a spin, right? And there's a safety net there. I mean, look at the laws right now. This now they're rolling back the laws. They're trying to make, I don't know what Joe Biden's going to do. They're trying to make marijuana no longer a Schedule I drug. Why? Because Joe Biden and the Republicans and everything was demonizing drugs. But guess what? They were demonizing crack cocaine because by demographically, Black people in inner city use crack, right? But like heroin and all that other stuff were suburban drugs. So you have to have a shitload of that. But if you got like 2 crack rocks, you're getting 25 to life. To get a whole set of like fine cocaine, you gotta get a couple kilos for you to do that same amount of time. So I mean, that's kind of proving my point. When it's on the other foot, they gotta change it. They gotta change the dynamic. But I see what he's saying. There's a saying where it says, "Hey, when it came for these people, I said nothing because I wasn't them. Then they came for these people, I said nothing because I'm not them. Then they came for me and I yelled for help and no one was there because they took everybody." So I get what he's saying, but United States is white people aren't like that. They're not going to care till it directly affects them. And when it does, they'll spin the narrative or do something where it could only help them while ignoring. It's like here in New York, you got all these these distilleries of selling weed and stuff like that. Black people are not getting the benefit of that. White people are now reaping the benefits of selling weed. Open up a store, But I'll land my plane.
Yeah, appreciate that, Kofi. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony McPhail, what say you to it?
Yeah, man. Hey, man, first of all, man, peace to everybody on the panel, man. Peace to Brother Kofi. Peace to Black Steel and everybody else, man. Buana, whoever is on the panel right now. Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Brother Kofi was saying. Because, like, okay, remember Koku at the height, and I know you in New York City was basically like the epicenter of the crack epidemic, like back in the 80s. And black people were the face of crack cocaine. Because you seen black brothers dealing it. You seen, the black brothers and sisters smoking it. But, even at that time, 80% of the crack users was white. You know what I'm saying? 80% of the people who use crack was white. You know what I mean? It was far more of them doing it than it was us or any other or minority ethnic group. But they use that as a political football. You know what I'm saying? And they showed you the ghettos across America, and they showed you black brothers and sisters doing the drugs. But like I said, the majority of them, of the people who was using the drugs, was white. And it's just like, even like another political football, like when they bring up stuff like the welfare system. What about 75% of people on welfare were white? No white women. But what I'm saying is, like, we gotta remember one thing when it comes to what this brother in the prompt was talking about. We got to go back to one thing, and I heard Black Steel say this before, and I've heard it before, by other people. We got to remember the foundation of America is what? This was a white settler colony. We got to remember white settler colonialism. You know what I'm saying? So and so the main focus, the main priority of them, it don't matter what class, whether they rich, whether they upper class or lower class. White people want to maintain white rule. Whether it's here in the United States, is in Canada, You know what I'm saying? It's in New Zealand, it's in Australia, it's in Europe. Right now, you know, they got a thing in Europe where they trying to run all of those black and brown people up out of there now. It's too many of y'all coming over here. You know what I'm saying? They try, I mean, you know, the main thing for them is maintaining their whiteness. You know, the political whiteness, whatever any other kind of whiteness that they can come up with. No, that's their main goal, to maintain that. So the whole class thing, I mean, it really, I mean, you know, okay, we could get some of our brothers, like, you know, our brothers from you know, no disrespect to nobody, but like from the, you know, the socialist paradigm, because I hear a lot of them, like Dr. Jerry Ball and all them, they always talk about like it's a class thing over a race thing, but when it comes to black, it ain't no, it's not a, when it comes to us, it's not a class thing, man. I mean, you know, you could say it's a class thing, and but I remember when Henry Louis Gates, Dr. Gates, got arrested for breaking into his own damn house. You know what I'm saying? He a black man, okay, but but you know, he was in the upper class. He's a rich guy compared to a brother or sister, you know, from the ghetto in the Bronx, anywhere in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Or any other ghetto in America. But it still didn't stop them from arresting his ass. You know what I'm saying? For locking his ass up or breaking in his own house. So the whole class thing, we got that paradigm don't fit when it comes to black people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can think of one other thing I can think of. If you go back to the 1930s, it was a movement in the 1930s in the South, in the southern part of the United States, where you had a lot of black people. I think the socialism thing kind of played a part of it too. You know, when the Communist Party was the strongest. You know what I'm saying? You had a lot of black people who was going around talking to white people, trying to talk to the farmers and everything. You know, the rural communities about how it was advantageous for them and for black folks and white folks to stick together on this whole thing during the Depression. But you know what? When you look around and see all those pictures of those brothers getting lynched, guess who was lynching them? It was the underclass white folks who were doing the lynching. You know what I'm saying? So they what I'm saying basically, they're gonna always pick race over class. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna always pick race over class. You know, they will go against their own interest because whiteness means something to them. You know, like the brother was saying, yeah, I might have it bad, but at least I ain't a Negro. You know what I'm saying? So I knock it off at right there.
I appreciate that, Anthony. In the chat, KW7 said race is class in America, and Trigger Happy kind of followed up. He said race is a type of class. For them, class is multiracial solidarity. For us, we are globally a particular type of class, and we should work from an internal perspective when it comes to redistribution. With that said, let's hear from
Koku, before you ask, I kind of want to build real quick on what Anthony said before I forget. The example he gave about Henry Louis Gates, right? And if you remember at the end of that story made headlines. Obama was president then, right? And when Obama, the quote unquote first black president, heard about that, he said, well, that's stupid. Why would a cop arrest a man breaking into his own house when he could prove it? It got out in the media. Obama hates cops. You know, he's a Muslim. He's all that. He hates cops. Obama had to apologize and invited that cop to the White House for drinks. Race always trumps class. In this country is race, class, and gender in that same particular order, right? Race, class, and gender. But I'll let you pass it on. I just wanted to add that.
No, thanks for that addition. Let's hear from Black Steel.
So there's a word that what he's talking about is a feeling he's feeling, seeing white people suffer and struggle with the same shit they've inflicted on black people for centuries. So there's a word in German called Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude basically means to find pleasure at other people's misfortune or bad things happening to other people. That's what this man is feeling. He's feeling Schadenfreude. He's feeling happiness that the weapons that they formed against us are now prospering against them. And I understand what he's feeling, because much of white America's pain is self-inflicted. Many of the policies and programs that they have passed, or the programs or the policies that they have, vetoed or done away with, has hurt them as much as it hurts. No, not take it back. It hurts them. It hurts Black people a little more. And that is the psychology of whiteness, is that they don't mind losing a toe if you could lose a foot. They don't mind losing a foot if you got to lose your leg. They're willing to do things. Like, for example, in states like Alabama, for example, they tried to expand Medicare during the pandemic, which would let more people onto the program. And the Republican legislature said, no, we're not going to do that. Now, mind you, the idea was that it was going to get more people onto the program, to get more people with health benefits. That would help a lot of Black people. It would help a lot of poor white people too. But the idea is that we don't want to do anything that could possibly improve the lives of Black people, even if it's going to affect us too. So, another thing, in my state, during the summertime, they were giving out funds so that way they could have school lunches for kids. That way the kids who may not have food during the summer, they can still go to school and get a meal. They vetoed that money. That money is probably going to another state like Ohio or New York, and they're going to benefit them. It's something that would benefit white children too. But fuck them niggas, we're gonna hurt all of us. If we gotta go without, to make you go without, we will. And that's what I think he's touching on, is that the policies and everything in place that are meant to hurt Black people are gonna hurt white people in the long run. I think the problem is that for the average white person, they don't really care. And that's part of what, when we read the Psychopathic Racial Personality by Dr. Bobby E. Wright, they don't really care. I think there's a few enlightened, quote unquote, white people who understand it, but the masses of the white people in this white settler project, because of their hatred and their ignorance, because I forgot who it was. I think it was Winston Churchill who said, we can always count on America to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. We can always count on white people to eventually come around to the true source of their problems. But in the meantime, they're going to blame everybody else. They're going to blame Black people. They're going to blame immigrants. They're going to blame women, and everybody else can get it. But then eventually they'll get to the true source of their problems. And that's kind of what I think he's dealing with. I don't find joy in it, but I do understand the basis of Schadenfreude, which means it's a sense of justice. Like, you are getting what you deserve because of the way you treated us. White people aren't gonna, appealing to white people's better nature has never worked for us. It's like Kwame Ture said, nonviolence only works if your opponent has a conscience. And I think overall, when you point out these things, hey, these policies you're putting in place, the things you're voting for, are hurting you too. What are you going to do about it? It's going to take a lot to just show them, because the psychopathic personality is so deep and the hatred is so deep that they literally won't mind doing it. They'll defund schools. Only white kids go to their school, because there's always, and this is where we talk about race and class, because I think there are some intersections, but like Trigger Happy said, race is a class in America. To be Black is to be poor. To be Black is to be an underclass. And also, too, for white people, they also need that sense of self-assurance. I might be poor, but I'm not a nigger. My kids might be going to a poor school, and they might not have lunch, but they're not niggers, though. So they have that almost like a emotional safety valve. They can release all their anger, all their frustration at living in this capitalist society that's fucking them up too. And that's another thing the elite has always done. These wealthy people who really run the system, they've always been able to use race as a way to deflect white people's frustration at the system. And I think it was a U.S. president, I think it was Johnson, he said that, if you can convince the poorest white man that he's better than the greatest Black person, he won't notice you picking his pocket. In fact, he'll empty his pockets for you. And that's kind of what we're seeing. And that's what he's speaking to, the feeling of Schadenfreude. But I'll go ahead. I'll leave it off there. Thank you, Coco.
Well
Hey,
done to two people there.
Coco.
Well, hold on a second. Well done to two people there. Well done to them for how they've propagandized their own people and kind of brainwashed their own people. Like they did a good job of that shit. I got to give it to them. But well done to Carl too. Carl brought a very balanced outlook to what the guy's intentions are in the video. He was way more balanced than I was. I actually appreciated how Carl brought that down. Quickly, Anthony, and then we'll go to our new panelist. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, Coco, to the panel, I just want to apologize. I'm going to run to the store real quick. I'll be right back in about 15 minutes.
All right. Take your time. Yeah. Let's welcome in our boy Jose. It's been a while, Jose. How are you?
Hi. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, it's been a while. Good evening, good morning, good night, where you guys are. Yeah, this topic, it's interesting. I notice from the start everybody had a different angle of approach. And lately I've been thinking. They say data has become the most valuable commodity. But if we look at their white man's behavior, I'm guessing it's a thought of less than a week, so it's kind of fresh. But I think the most valuable commodity is narrative, right? Sometimes we forget that you just mentioned it, Koku. The white man is also programmed, right? So he has to be the machine, the system, the elites, whatever you want to call it, has to continue monitor what the white population, world population thinks. So they are the flock of sheep that are monitored most tight, I guess. Supposedly they are the ones that have money. So for the elites, they are also interesting. Marketing is always aimed at them. So we can conclude that the narrative is the most valuable commodity. Because the narrative decides or programs the whites most narcissistic / on top, and we are also in the same program because we are looking for somebody to kick down to, right? So white man is programmed to think that he's the top, and he's so there's no stress, there's no of course in reality they are killing themselves, etc., because and maybe their programming plays a part in that, because they are supposed to be invincible or whatever, and with just a slight setback, they jump off a building. Maybe it's that, but anyway. So as you may know, because I have said it before, I don't believe white supremacy exists. The system is who is on the bottom. So black subjugation is white supremacy. Is what we call white supremacy. So the whole ladder, every step on the ladder is looking for somebody to look down to. Yeah, I'm all over the place, but I hope you get what I'm saying. White man is just as programmed as us, or even more, because
yeah, just as much or even more.
Can you follow? Can you follow? I feel like I'm all over the place, but I hope my what I'm trying to say is coming through. White man is just as programmed as us.
Yeah, I think you landed it well. The white man is just as programmed, if not more, than us. And you gotta give them that. You gotta give them that. They got to that consciousness for whatever reason before we did.
Yeah, they are very uncoached by that program, and you know, that's why propaganda for us is important. We one day we have to pick up that job of programming our own people, so that we are in uncoached.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bonnie, you heard everything everyone else had to say on the topic. You've seen the chat. By the way, shout out to Athrazer, who's out there saying greetings. He mentioned JP Morgan as well. Bonnie, you've heard everything and seen everything everyone had to say. What say you to all of it?
Yeah. So first, let me say shout out to Pauline. I see in the chat room. Jose, I don't know if you was listening a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned your town, Cape Verde. I don't know if you saw that video, but as far as the question itself, man, your brothers have vetted it very well. I don't think that it's nothing I could say really to add to it. The only thing that I would say is when Anthony talked about the crack era, and he said that 80% of the crack people were in fact the predominant society. Now I didn't even think about that, because you don't know how sometimes you get conditioned by the television, because every time they mention the crack epidemic, you always would see a black face. But that was set up like that for a reason. It's just like how he was talking about welfare. People say that the face of welfare, Ronald Reagan used to say, was the welfare queen in the inner city areas, when in fact the real face of welfare was the toothless Karen, in a trailer park. You really don't consider these things when the propagandist politicians come out here and create these narratives. You don't think about it until after the fact. But in terms of what this brother was saying, I think that our response is not the fact that people plan to put us in second class status or plan to make us test tube dummies. What matters is our community's response to how these people then set up systems to put us in certain situations. Just like other communities, we are not the only non-white community. We are not the only non-white community. But the responses from the Chinese or other communities may be very different. That's why they are not as affected as we are. And I think that they plan and prepare just like our opponents and enemies do. They plan and prepare. So if someone comes up with a policy, our community should be our response to whatever policies that they try to come and set up in place should be shoring up the arc to make sure that we have a system in place to be able to not only fight off whatever policies that they have against us, but be able to be able to use it to our advantage. Whatever policies that they're gonna come up with a disadvantageous policy, but our response is what really matters. Whatever our communal response is, that's gonna really set the pace for what they're gonna do next. I mean, it's a chess match, it's a chess game, and we are in a competition. And until we are in a leadership position on a powerful role to produce and create policy, our response to whatever they try to come and attack us with will be able to set the pace of what be for our community, within our community. But I'll leave it there. And also, Black Steel mentioned the German word, and I think that it might be a relief in terms of watching other people get their just desserts. But that, for me, that take too long. It take like a couple of generations before they get their justice. it's like I have to. These people set in place policies, but I have to watch and see generation after generation go by until that same policies, what they would have created in the 80s, it affects them in the year 2000. That kind of, for me, that justice is not swift. It takes too long. And I rather swift justice. Rather than waiting and seeing how it could possibly ill affect them. I think that's too long for me. I will leave it there just to be brief.
Yeah, I feel you. I think we all did a good job with this prompt. Is there any last thoughts from anyone on the panel?
Yeah. I'm not downplaying anyone's perspective. I can only talk from my perspective. So when Anthony, said that, white people were first people were using crack. So when the whole crack epidemic happened, I was freaking in elementary school, and I'm in a middle class neighborhood, and I remember walking, seeing crack vials on the floor. I remember talking, discussing with my friends. I saw an orange crack top. Those don't exist. I saw a blue. So from where my standpoint is, it was always in black neighborhoods. And the thing I also backed up with that, when you see the drug policy, the so-called war on drugs, like I said before, the drug policies, like I said before, were more heavy-handed towards people who use crack rather than cocaine and all these other designer drugs and like that. That's why I'm saying it's more a hindrance to black people. If white people did it, that's news to me. The laws doesn't reflect that, because we all know the war on drugs was more of a detriment to black people, not poor white people, middle class white people. No, it was a huge devastating effect to black people only. Now, yeah, you might got some white people using crack. Yeah, because the kind of, some time has gone, on, but still, in its inception, it was for black people. I don't know if I'm coming from a very narrow perspective, only being in New York or whatever, but the policies also back that up. So I would like to know, who are these white crackheads in 1988 and 89 and 1990? I'll just end it there.
So also, I also want to say, they're talking about welfare, right? Initially, there was a point when welfare was first created during the Great Depression. Black people could not get it. For example, they limited welfare. So, like, for example, like people who worked in domestic labor and agricultural work were excluded from welfare. And that made up the majority of black people, especially in places like the South. So black people became the face of welfare, living off the system, when in reality that welfare was created, number one, during the Great Depression, to prevent what they feared to be a communist revolution, and two, to end the depression, which was meant for white people. But yet now here we are talking about black people taking advantage of the system as if it wasn't created for white people. And also the drug war. The drug war was always meant for black people. The fact that some white people got caught in the net, black people. So white people make up the majority of drug users, but we make up the majority of arrests. So even though white people use drugs more than black people are always have made up the most arrests. If you look at, I don't know, I don't have the stats with me, but I remember seeing a stat about the majority of people who get admitted to the hospital for drug overdoses are white people. But yet you never see, if you go to the jails right now, you won't see a majority white people locked up, unless you live in like fucking Wyoming or someplace like that where there's no black people. Montana, where there's like, a handful. But if you go to, usually you're going to see black people disproportionately represented in the incarceration system, which is by design. The war on drugs was meant to, by design, have black people up in the system, because they're used as a form of labor. It also was a way to almost, throw water on the civil rights movement and the Black Revolutionary movement in the 60s and 70s. That's when you'll notice around the same time black people became more militant in the late 60s, early 70s, is when they pushed the war on drugs. So now you're having more people locked up. A lot of things are coming out of that. That goes to his point about things created to hurt black people that in the end end up hurting white people. They were upset, for example, too many people going to college, too many black people going to college. What did Ronald Reagan do? That's when you start seeing student loans. That's when you start seeing the cost of college skyrocket. Now that's impacting white people now. But initially, it was meant to keep some of these niggas out. They learning too much. They know too much stuff. Let's make college cost prohibitive now. Let's not make it a way for the middle class poor people to elevate themselves. And some black people happen to be taking advantage of it. Not even a lot. Fuck them. But this action causes more harm than white people too. So eventually, later on down the line, they get it. They get it eventually.
In the chat, Jose said, when whites call welfare reparations, it pisses them off, like undescribable. Daily Affirmation is out there. Provides triggers for evolution, says greetings. Jose here says, here we are, mules carrying subsidies for retailers, and we're supposedly profiting. Hashtag get out and be a consumer in a black economy. I'll let that be the last word for that prompt. Let's go to the Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says, is this good propaganda techniques? Why don't we do this? So we're continuing the propaganda discussion. This came with a link that takes us to Twitter. A tweet from Stop Anti-Semitism says, Carpe diem. La vie est belle. The grass is greener where you water it. Renee and Four could have picked any of these and countless others for her yearbook quote, Yorktown High, Westchester, New York. But she chose to call for the removal of the world's only Jewish state. She's headed to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst in the fall. We can't help but feel bad for the Jewish students she's going to encounter. And this is a picture of the young sister graduating from high school, Renee and Four. She says, quote, from the river to the sea. So you guys probably know that's a common Palestinian chant, from the river to the sea. So I guess she is in solidarity with the Palestinians, and so she put that quote up there. That's just my guesses. I don't know. Could you guys see the quote? Yeah, Renee and Four from the river to the sea. Is this good propaganda techniques? Why don't we do this? Let me mix it up. Let me start with Jose this time. Jose, what are your thoughts here? And why don't we do this?
Our propaganda is not on point. Actually, I can continue my babble from the previous subject. We are not on code. You know, we don't jump automatically in our yells, because we're not reminded of it. You know, our propaganda is not on code. That's I can be short about it. Our propaganda is not on code, and that's why we lack this kind of automatic pickup of yells, as if it's organized. You know, like it should be organized. I mean. So yeah, again, our propaganda, we're not programming each other, you know, we're arguing with each other rather than actually looking for bullets to shoot. That's it. I pass the mic.
Appreciate that, Jose. Kofi, what say you? I guess Kofi's not there, or is the mic muted? All right,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I stepped away. Go on to the next person. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's go to Black Steel.
These fucking Zionists, man, they're just a whiny crybaby bitches, man. First of all, this narrative that these Zionists, and I say Zionists, I don't want to say Jew, because every Jewish person is not a Zionist. But I'm gonna be specific in my critique, right? So this young lady, she said it's from the river to the sea, right? And she's speaking out against the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people. Which, let's be honest, the Palestinian genocide didn't start in October of 2023. It didn't. This has been an ongoing genocide since 1948, right? So she decides to say something about it, and what she said was pretty much tame, right? She says, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. She's not calling for the death of Jews. She didn't say that Jewish people don't have a right to exist. But what she's saying, and what many people are saying, that the settler colonial project that is Israel, that exists as a state of Israel, which is a racist apartheid state, this is something that needs to end. So if Jewish people want to live in a free Palestine, they can, but they shouldn't have the ability to oppress, brutalize, murder, kill people the way they've been doing. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But these people decided to take this child's yearbook picture and as a way to turn it against her. So what they're trying to do is ruin her college prospects, to proclaim her as an anti-Semite, so that way she won't be able to get in to her college of choice, or her prospects of going to school are ruined. And that's what they do. So the very fact that you are protesting or you speak out against our genocide means that you hate Jews, right? And that's one thing you can never do, is hate Jews, because their situation is just totally unlike anybody on earth, and they're just these eternal victims, and everything is bad and everybody hates us because we're, it's all a bunch of bullshit. This isn't so much propaganda. It's also, I would say that in a way, this is what these psychopaths do to prevent people from speaking out against their violence. So anything done to a Jewish person is anti-Semitism. So I remember seeing a tweet by Jamie Foxx, and he talked about being betrayed by people he knew. And he said, he mentioned something about they killed Jesus. If they killed Jesus, that Jesus was betrayed by people closest to them, right? So some Jewish people got online and tried to say Jamie Foxx was being anti-Semitic because of the long-standing anti-Jewish trope that Jewish people kill Jesus, that Jews kill Christ, right? So here these people, these perpetual victims, are going to find some innocuous tweet by some actor, some black actor, trying to claim he's anti-Semitic because he referenced Jesus' betrayal. Black people don't have that. There's no history of black people calling Jews Christ killers. We don't have that history. That history belongs to Europe. But yet, right now, Israel's biggest partners are what? Europeans, Americans. But yeah, they want to take Europe's anti-Semitic history and try to project it on everybody else. So it's the Arabs anti-Semitic. The black people, they really come for black people because black people have historically stood with Palestine when it comes with these issues. But now they're focusing on this black child who and this is not an isolated incident. You see how they posted where she was going to school at? I'm surprised they didn't put her address or her phone number up there. They're doing this to people who speak out against this ongoing genocide because the Jewish lobby, sorry, let me say that back. The Zionists are so strong. I don't want to say Jewish people because not all Jews are Zionists, but the Zionists are so focused on controlling the narrative that they're willing to destroy anybody who speaks out against it. Even in the face of the ongoing violence, they still feel the need to shut people up. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Black. I don't think Anthony returned. He hasn't appeared. So I guess that takes us to Buana next. Buana, what's it?
Yeah, if I was her dad, I would tell her not to make a statement like this. I would tell her not to make a statement like this. First of all, because she's not went to the university yet to fulfill whatever she needs to do academically. And I think that the Zionist community, as Black Steve was saying, are gonna make an example out of her. This is how they protest. This is how they protest. For every action, there is a reaction, and in some cases there's an overreaction. And because as Black Steve was once again saying, the lobbies in America is extremely strong, they're gonna use her as an example for anyone else who dare to speak up, especially young people on the internet, to try to influence the minds of others. They're gonna make a certain example out of her. She doesn't, I don't know what university she is going to, but many of the presidents of many of these academic universities are old. So they basically are labeling her, and they're gonna use this as a case study for everyone else coming behind her from high school who is to make it. See, they used to have certain freedoms in the United States, freedom of speech and certain things like that. That stuff has been curbed. It's no more freedom of speech because of the money and the lobbies in the area. So there's certain conversations you can't have. You can't have anti-LGBT conversations if you have a career that you want to keep. You can't have anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist conversations if there's a career that you want to keep. And there are others too. But I would say this: they used to, as far as propaganda goes and propaganda techniques, Black Lives Matter was a very, very serious group for a short period of time. You know, so you didn't want to get on their bad side either. But the only difference between that group and the other groups is the Zionist community had the monies and political power to back up what they say, and so did the LGBT community. The Black community, not so much, but they did have influence. They did have influence to get maybe someone fired, removed, and certain things like that. But they don't have enough as much power in terms of lobby groups in America as the Zionist community. You know, so me personally, I would have acted strategically because the internet is forever, and whatever you put out there, sometimes you can't remove. And I think that it's going to be more difficult. In some situations, the Zionist community are extremely vengeful, extremely vengeful. And sometimes I personally think strategically it's best to properly place yourself before you get in these political battles and struggles. Some people may not agree with that. But I tend to believe that. You know what I mean? I think that if my enemies are strong, I should make myself strong first before I go out and try to attack my enemies. Why? Because the probability exists that if my enemy is strong and I am weak, I could be taken care of. It's the same, a David and Goliath situation. You know, I'm a realist. So if my enemies are strong, my first and foremost ambition first is to make myself strong first before I go out there and get into any of these global fights. Global fights that was here before she came on this planet, and it'll be here long after she leaves this planet. Long after. So what are you gonna do in the meantime? You know, are you gonna make it? Well, I ain't gonna get into that whole Palestinian argument, but I just think that strategically, if I was her dad, I would tell her, focus on your studies for right now. And when you properly place yourself and position yourself in terms of your career and your goals and things like that, then we could discuss printing things like this or over the internet and frustrating big groups in America that might not necessarily take this lightly. You know, I would tell her to do that if I was her dad as a high schooler coming out of school. You know, but I'll leave it there.
You know
Thank
what,
you,
Born?
thank
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Real quick in the chat, I think Trigger Happy agreed with you. He said, I will say those with radical politics have to try to be discreet about it. It isn't wise to be aggressive about this when you lose opportunities, especially when Palestinians are not your people. I think that's well said. I know Black still want to add something, and then whoever else wants to add their last thoughts can
Just
go. Black
really quickly, one thing about the young people, right? That's why I always say the youth are the truth, man. The youth are the truth. The youth see the world as it could be more so than the older people. We see the world as it is, right? So many of the movements for justice, especially in the U.S., have been student movements. They've been led by students, high school, college, whatnot. And this is the reason why education has always been, especially, come under attack. They don't want certain subjects to be taught because the youth tend to be more radical than the older generation. So what Bwana said about being as her father, you tell her not to do it. I completely understand that because I was that young man marching for against police brutality and everything else like that. My mom was telling me, take your ass to school. You got a son to look after. He was little at the time. You know, you got kids. Don't get out there and don't get hurt. But then my mindset as a young person, I'm thinking to myself, how, when in 10, 15, 20 years from now, when my son asks me, what was I doing during this time? What am I telling him? I went to work. I was at school. I was making breakfast. Or was I on the front line? Was I out there making a stand, speaking my mind, regardless of the consequences? That's the way these young people think. They see things like, hey, this is going on in the world. I need to get out here and make my voice heard. I want to be a part of this, regardless of the consequences. I think that's a good thing. I think that's an admirable trait in the youth. They're willing to have to speak truth to power and stand up for what they believe is the right thing. Because these motherfuckers that run shit, they're gonna do everything possible to continue the evil, wicked shit that they have to do. So that's just I would just say that as a parent, I totally understand where Bwan is coming from. But I also understand where the student is coming from too. I think there's two sides to the coin. Which side do I lean on? Me being the person I am, I'd probably, all right, baby, fuck that. We'll get you to another school. Go to community college, whatever, get your grades up. But I applaud young people taking a stand. Had somebody taken a stand with George Floyd, he might still be here. Had somebody throw a brick, did something, maybe he might be here. That's all I'm saying.
No, I hear that. I hear that, Black Steel. And let me say this though. Some people believe that being a revolutionary is not being a black father. Being a black father who making sure, but the fact that the child could ask that question at 15, that me or 12 or 11 or whatever, however old they are, when they ask me, what have you been doing? Well, the fact that there's a roof over your head, and the fact that you go into a school, and the fact that you learn to write, spell, and you've been eating consistently for 15 years, that is what my first obligation is to the life that I bring into this planet. Not a Palestinian. Needless to say, I understand the fervor to want to stand up in the face of injustice. That should be done, and I should never ever take that away. But there are also other ways to fight as well. You don't always have to be a frontliner carrying placards or holding the gun. You know what I mean? Sometimes there when Fidel Castro was initially going to take over the island of Cuba, one of the things that he told Che Guevara is that I don't need you on the front lines. I need you to take care and to nurse the sick, and I need you to ensure that any casualties or bullet wounds or harms that's being done to my soldiers, I need to ensure that these people are effectively taken care of and provided for. So he wasn't on the front line because he was placed where he was most useful and purposeful. He was first and foremost a doctor, not a soldier. Why? So if you kill the doctor, then all the soldiers can die if they harm in battle. You know what I mean? So I think that I could be a revolutionary, but I don't necessarily always have to be on the front line. And I think that sometimes the young people who may not know better and may not be able to see far enough, they just first want to come out there and be the first one to get hit by the police department and people who are aggressing against them. Sometimes to be effective, there are other ways to be effective than just being on the front line. That's all I'm saying as an older person to a younger person.
Okay. Let me. Everybody went.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. No. Pretty much. I agree with what Buana was saying. Like, you know, it's and Black Steel. It's a noble thing to do, right? And as African people, we have a way of looking at another human being and have sympathy for those people. Nothing wrong with that. We need to separate that and know what is the goal ahead. If I was her father, I would tell her not to. I say, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to do that." I would say no. Right? It's good that you have some empathy for them. I wouldn't put it on blast like that. If you're going to say anything about empathy, have empathize with anybody abroad, have it be the North Africans dealing with the Arabs. What's going on in the Congo? right? Or domestically, right? Over here, voting rights on being got Roe v. Wade, right? Um, Black women dying at a higher rate in the hospitals. There are so many other things you could that's just as noble and is just as attention needed to these plights. You could put something like that on there, and everyone and you know and it wouldn't put you in a bad position, right? That's what I would do. I mean, it's like it's not exactly the same, but something to the effect. Muhammad Ali's like, why I'm going over to Vietnam? No Vietcong ever call me nigga. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have a fight here in the United States here where you can't even live your life normally. You got one. If I jog, like I'm from Brooklyn, right? I'm from Brooklyn, and I'm not in the nicest neighborhood, but I'm not in the worstest neighborhood. And me and my friends like, hey man, let's go jogging, right? And we like, man, you know, if we go jogging, cops gonna pull us over. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that happens, right? There's a lot of social issues that we have to be more concerned. And I think this whole Palestinian thing and us just feeding off of that 24/7. I think the young lady have temporary amnesia in what's really matters to her daily life. Unfortunately, it's if you know the life there is being decimated, yes, right. But what's going on here with you after you turn off that TV and you turn off your phone or YouTube or whatever news station you're taking in, your life has not changed yet, right? Your life has not changed yet, right? So I mean, to that, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think we have to be more laser focused and hyper focused on the things that happen to us here domestically. If you're going to hyper focus on something that's abroad, it should not be Palestinian. It should be Black people. So I'll end it right there.
Interesting. Interesting when you look at the demographics of who feels like, you know, she should have spoke up and said something versus those who kind of hold back and say, nah, she shouldn't speak up. You know, it's a very interesting result. Let's welcome in our boy, Real Black Gentleman, this week. Real Black Gentleman, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm feeling right.
Good, good. What say you to this?
I guess I'm kind of. It depends. Like, how would I say it? You want to make sure that people are talking about what it is. I guess I don't necessarily see things as like them over there and, you know, us over somewhere else, because the nature of them is that they encroach into our spaces, you know, in here in America, in Africa. Like, for real, Israel is like talking big about going all up into Africa. I mean, this is something I want to bring up. You know, we talk about the Berlin Conference, right? I've been doing some studying, right? I had a wild like idea that kind of like, you know, popped in my head about like the nature of the colonialism in Africa. And I looked at Belgium and the Congo, right? And I know, you know what I'm saying, England and France ran up in, they did their colonialism, their invasion, all that, Portugal and all that. But when I saw the Berlin Conference and I see Belgium, I'm like, well, Belgium ain't had nothing to do with that. I try to do some research. People talk about the Rothschilds, right? Well, basically, the Rothschilds funded, you know, what became the Berlin Conference. There's something called the it's a foundation that was like the precursor to the Berlin Conference. It was called the International African Association. Their flag is that blue flag with like a gold yellow star, kind of like, you know, this like the blue and yellow stars of the EU flag, that kind of scheme. Yeah, it's that same star, right? And so, look, when we talk about, you know what I'm saying, these Jews, it's not like they're always over there. One of the colonies in Namibia was founded. I mean, I'm just when I look at these Jews, you know what I'm saying, there's characteristics. It's a country, there's a place called Luderitz land, Luderitz, Luderitz land, right? I mean, this is like the core of the German West African like colonies. I'm like too convinced when we talk about, saying, Jewish people, invade, saying, finance and this, that, and the third, that you can't peripheralize it too hard, because they're not this not them over there. It's intrinsic with a lot of things. There are not too many Jews, but like I said, there's a lot of Zionists, and then it's entangled. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could just say it for real. Is a place called Beru-Bijan. That's like in Russia. You know what I'm saying? They talk about it being the only Russian state. I mean, the Russians had that over in like 1903 type stuff. I mean, it's like it's constant. It's lies on lies. So when these anti-Semitic people say this the only Jewish state, that's slander against her. It's like you do have to counter the counter. These Zio-Jewish-ish, Jewic, or whatever you want to call them, peoples. I call them peoples, right? Them peoples is come at black people funny style, but we can't. We have to what? We can't just come up the middle. We can't. It's not so much that they're not doing anything to us, because they do. I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, I worry about the black people who come up missing type stuff. Remember the boy who was rolled up in the mat and they had his organs cut out? What the hell is that? It's a lot of mystery stuff, and I'm afraid it's related to them peoples against black people. I mean, we were just talking a couple months ago about them kids, saying in Epstein with the brain chips and stuff. They doing that in Kenya. You know what I'm saying? It's some shit connected to them peoples with that. I wish it was them peoples over there, but they kind of here, there, and everywhere. I'm gonna just land my plane on that.
IBG brings up a family name there that honestly doesn't get talked about enough. I think people associate that name to Rothschilds or like the boogeyman or Snuffleupagus or something, but a lot of us don't realize just how integral that family is to this white power structure, and who drew up the rules of that white power structure. I think we kind of give those people a pass, a huge pass, and it's easy to look at their lineage, their genealogy, to see who are the other families connected to them. It was mentioned in the chat earlier, Chase Bank, JP Morgan, and Chase. They had these ships that got caught with crazy amounts of cocaine. And as KW Don said in the chat earlier, was any repercussions for that? Nah. And there's a reason that family is a part of that Rothschild family. But that's a topic for another time, I guess. Does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt? If not, then what we can do, I should have grabbed it before, but I'll get it now. We'll go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. I want to thank everyone who's here tonight. Especially want to thank all of you who are on the panel tonight. Thanks for coming through and giving your perspective. I really in fact, I love the conversation that we've had so far tonight and the conversation of the past few weeks. Last week's show, I wasn't too sure about it, but the conversation was actually really good. So I do appreciate you guys who participate on the panel. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, Black men don't want me. This is a woman who's talking. Let me just pull up the tweet. I think it is. No, it's a YouTube video. So we'll watch it. We'll watch it. Crap, sorry. We'll watch it and we'll discuss it right after. Let me share my screen. I'm kind of messing up. Okay. There we go. So let me make sure it's full screen. All right. So we'll watch this video and then we'll discuss it.
Probably not going to marry a black man, but I mean, I can still talk.
Oh, wait. You said probably. So there's hope. You haven't divested.
I am divested.
Okay, so why didn't you say I won't marry a black man? You said I probably won't.
You have to make yourself into the kind of man that women want.
You sound like Kevin Samuels.
How?
You're literally saying what he says. You have to make yourself the type of woman that these type of men want.
No.
So what's the difference? What's the difference?
Because according to him, you shouldn't go to college.
Because those men don't value that.
Okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Sit in the hood and be poor as hell?
But that's not the point. The point is the rhetoric is the same. You're saying
that is not the same thing because they're not the same.
No. The things are different. I agree with you. The things are different, but the rhetoric is the same. You're saying, okay, so if I was to say to you, you have to become the type of man that the type of woman you want would like. Wait. If I have to become the type of man that the type of woman I want wants, correct?
You have to become the type of man that women want. Yeah.
Perfect. And if I said to you, you have to become the type of woman that the type of man you want wants, is that correct as well?
Wrong, because men and women are not the same. The reality for a lot of Black women is that they are the breadwinners of their families. They are the higher earners. They are the ones who are most responsible. They are the providers and the protectors of the household.
You know what I would tell them?
Who have to keep the lights on.
You know what I would tell those women? I would tell those women to go back to the drawing board and become the type of woman that the type of man that wouldn't require you to be the breadwinner would be attracted to.
That's not realistic. That is not a realistic.
Why not?
Because
the point I was making is that a lot of our women don't hold white men or white love interests to the same pseudo-masculine standards. So the white dude doesn't have to make six figures. The black dude does.
Black women ask for Black men to make six figures.
Yeah, sure, it might not be six figures, but it's other metrics. You guys impose. And again, if it was just me saying this at my age and other men saying this at their age, I've had conversations with boys in high school, and they say the same thing. They're not making money, but they're talking about masculine features and things like that. So my thing is, why are you grading white dudes on a curve and still talking shit about Black men?
Black men don't,
So for those men who are committed, who are doing the right things based on male curriculums or whatever the case may be, and we're still eating shit, what can you say to us?
I'm saying that I don't see that as being a real problem because there are not enough Black men.
What's the definition of gaslighting?
Making somebody believe that their reality is not real.
What did you just do?
Your reality is...
You're stuttering because that's what you just did.
No.
How can we honestly have this conversation and claim that Black men are enjoying all the perks of masculinity and manness in this particular country without pointing out some of the pitfalls of manness and specifically Black manness that Black men have to suffer? Because it's like when it's time to give out empathy, we should take it evenly. When it's time to give out blame, we should take all the blame. Black men should take all the blame. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. Similarly, I could say Black women have never had the disposition of femininity, even when Black men did lead. I'm not saying that.
Because you never led, though.
Black men never led.
No.
Ever.
No.
So Marcus Garvey means nothing to you. Elijah Muhammad means nothing to you. Martin Luther King. Frederick Douglass. No. I'm not talking about those men in particular. I'm talking about the movements, the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam.
We can't.
So you're saying to me there's never been a collective of Black men who led in spite of circumstances created to exterminate them? You're saying that?
I'm saying that Black men.
So you're saying Black men made a concerted decision to abandon?
I don't know if the decision was concerted. I know.
Okay, but you said they abandoned their post.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Before that, you said they never had a post. So which one is it? You talked yourself into that trap. You said we weren't leaders, then you said we abandoned leadership.
You're really like mincing words here, and you're like,
Because we got to stand beside and behind what we say. Okay, so I'm giving you an opportunity to recant your first statement when you said black men were never leaders.
black men were never leaders.
But you just said they abandoned the home.
Yes, but it doesn't mean they were leading in the home.
Okay, so what did they abandon?
They abandoned their kids. They abandoned their wives.
Okay, what is their role in their kids' and wives' lives?
To be a husband and father.
What is husband and father? What is that role?
I don't know. It's what men are supposed to do if you're going to get married.
It's a leadership role, correct?
But doesn't mean you're a leader in that role. Again, married, he wasn't a leader in his marriage.
Is husband and father a leadership role?
No. Not intrinsically, no.
Okay, so what are you complaining that black men did? Because if you were saying black men abandoned their leadership responsibility, we can go there. But if we weren't leaders, we were never leaders, then what is your gripe with us? What are we doing wrong?
Black men complain that the black community is woman-led. You complain that it's a gynocracy. You complain that feminism is taken over, but you don't lead anyway.
Mm-hmm. And according to you, we've never led.
I mean, I don't know why you're so caught up on if you never or ever led, or was there a point in time in history where you at one time did. What does that matter in 2022?
Because history is cyclical and words mean things. And if you use very dangerous rhetoric, and let's say, for instance, you have a son, you have a daughter, and you're teaching them history is that black men never led, that sets a very dangerous paradigm. And I think that's where it comes from when people say the divest community sounds like white supremacists. Because you say a bunch of lies to paint a narrative that isn't substantiated by any fact.
It's not a lie. And even if
okay, so prove it.
What does that one time history do for us today? How does that help us today?
Well, it's more than one time. Obviously, for people who know history, it's more than one. I've given you a bunch of examples, but what it does is it changes the paradigm. Because one of the things that we often do as a community is we talk about ourselves as being incapable of doing better, without recognizing the fact that we were kidnapped, without recognizing the fact that we were put in situations to perpetuate our own dysfunction for the benefit of the white society that we now run to be our saviors. I think it's very dangerous if we become dismissive of one another's experiences. So similarly, I could say black women in mass are not deserving of good men because they're not feminine. I don't say that. I say that these are the things black women need to do in mass. And for the ones who are doing the right things, if they are getting bad experiences, that's unacceptable, black men. Like you shouldn't, like you could treat the 90 other ones like that, but don't treat her like that. Like she's on her job, she's doing the right thing. Similarly, at the very least, what you could say is, if a black man is doing his job, he's deserving of a good black woman. But you're unwilling to say that.
Man, let me tell you the ironic thing, man. The chick you just had on, and me and her from the same. I didn't know her, but we from the same neighborhood.
She's from Philly. I thought so. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, we grew up in the same hood, man, and I could understand like her mentality because like how we grew up wasn't the greatest.
Break that down.
Just poverty, drugs, single mothers rampant, you know what I mean, abuse, just all kind of stuff, man. So like I can understand why she feels the way she do about black men. Because like I said, you didn't see a lot of black men there, and the ones that were there, they weren't shit. I mean, excuse my language. I mean, they weren't the greatest.
Yeah, fact.
So that goes back to your point of when you're young, that shapes your perception as an adult. You know what I mean? And I think that she doesn't recognize that. You feel me? Like she doesn't recognize, okay, well, when I was young, seeing all this shaped my perception.
So it's just built up childhood trauma. And like her baseline expectation of black men is what she saw as a kid.
Right.
Man, that's heavy. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And that's why I encourage therapy. I encourage conversation, because a lot of us, and black men too, a lot of our expectations are based on how our mom was, or the girls from the block. You know what I mean? So it's important that we grow and we see the world differently. So no, that's real, man.
I mean, we went to some of the same schools. You know what I mean? Like we went to the same middle school. I don't know if we went to the same high school or not. You know what I mean? And like I said, I get her. You know?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that that environment made her into who she is.
Like, I don't know where I rank at as far as earnings. Yes, I'm above average, but so therefore, I mean, just even in that part of if I was because that's what I was doing, incorporating myself into that part of the conversation, and she was talking to me specifically saying that I was nothing.
Right.
I go, what? I'm not like, and I can't, because I have so many other pitfalls that I'm overcoming though, right? At 42. But earning wise, I'm way above.
Right. Right.
What are you talking about?
And that's all black men are asking. We're just asking, let us be acknowledged for the things that we're doing right, as opposed to the narrative that's constant and consistent about how it doesn't matter what you do, you will never be good enough. And we all grew up hearing that, and it's unacceptable. Hey, if you've made it all the way to the end, please click that like and subscribe button.
Interesting stuff. While the video was playing, I had asked the chat if they were familiar with this group, and a few people said kinda. I think RBG said kinda. Trigger Happy 262 Plus is from a channel called We Need to Talk. He says, great channel. So I asked that question because, and by the way, I'm thankful for this. You guys be introducing me to some channels I'm not aware of. And while I was watching this, I was thinking, I wonder if this guy even knows or would ever know that we are going to discuss a segment of his show. And it made me think about it. I wonder if there's people who play back Shoot the Breeze sometimes some of y'all guys' comments on their shows, and we just don't know. But the bottom line of the point I'm trying to make is this is why you have to put out content. You never know who will pick it up, right? Who will pass it on, so you got to put stuff out there. You got to put propaganda out there. In the chat, Black Steel was like, look at the mental gymnastics she's doing. And then he said, where is it? And then he said, he's roasting her. I'm experiencing the German word he mentioned earlier. So for some reason, I can't find it. But then after that, he was like, oh, yeah, here it is. He was like, let me cook. So Black Steel, the stove is yours. Go ahead.
All right, man. So yeah, I'm definitely experiencing some Schadenfreude, because look at the way she's just trying to justify her ignorance is on display. So this young lady, and I'm gonna be gentle with her. I'm gonna be gentle. I ain't gonna break out the whips and the chains tonight. But anyway, this young lady she's traumatized, right? But my problem with these divesting bitches is, number one, first of all, hard wig, soft life, because that wig, well, you could crack steel on that wig.
Oh.
Hard wig, soft life, I guess. These wigs be so hard and crunchy, man. My God. She should be embarrassed. But anyways, she's definitely gonna get a white man looking like that. But anyways, these divester women, they lack systemic analysis, right? And they're coming from a white supremacist point of view. And I'm glad the brother really pointed out how she sounds like a white supremacist, right? So, first of all, black men never led. but they did leave, but then they abandoned their post. And they're looking at it like black men are deficient somehow. So she's decided to divest, i.e., date men of other races to get what she believes black men are not capable of. So a lot of these standards and whatever that are imposed on black men as far as relationships, I've often asked where they come from, because let's be real. In today's economy, it usually takes more than one income to survive, right? So with mortgages and insurance and car payments and groceries and everything else, that usually takes more than one income to make it, right? So this idea these women have, to where as the man you're supposed to be providing for your family. Providing to them looks like the man carries the load 120%, right? That is something that not only is difficult for black men to do, that's difficult for every race of man to do. So the standard she's putting on black men, right, in her mind, is black men are deficient because we don't make enough money, we don't do this, we don't protect our family, we don't provide for our families. And she's coming from a place of pain, because like the black man said, he grew up in a neighborhood. I would bet money her father wasn't in her life. He didn't protect her the way she should have. Is that a failing of black men, or is that a failure of that individual man? Or let me ask the question, is her father a product of a system of oppression that produces black men that make it difficult for us to provide for our families or be there for our children? I don't know the backstory between this man, but I also understand that the black family has been under attack since slavery. So if she's not coming from a systemic analysis, I love to quote famous people. Kwame Ture said so famously, if you look at an oppressed people, right, and you leave out the oppressor, you will come to an incorrect analysis, because you will blame the oppressed for all their problems. So what she's doing, she's trying to analyze the problem, but leaving white people out of it. She's leaving these crackers out of it because she wants to be one. She wants to be up under some white man's nuts. And another thing too is, like he was saying in the comment, that white man she dates, he wouldn't have those same standards to earn the way a black man would. He would just, his whiteness has value to them, because in their mind, these divestors' mind, whiteness is the gateway to a better quality of life, a life of luxury, a life of status. Well, they could, for even temporarily, they can escape this blackness, because there's some heavy shit that comes with being black. Being black is not for the faint of heart, right? This is some real stuff we deal with. So the desire to escape from this heavy burden that we have on our shoulders, it comes in different forms. It comes in, you got people pretending to be Native Americans, we the real Indians, you got we the real Jews. Get you a white man, because the white man is gonna treat his woman better automatically. And we'll turn around and we see these videos, these white people killing their whole family. These white men killing these women and dismembering them and leave them in. You find a torso here, you find a leg here, you find an ankle there, all across the city, but they'll ignore that. Black men want you to take care of your kids. As if every black man has to take care of his kids, because they have internalized anti-blackness so much. And these women have black brothers, they have black uncles and sons, and they held these because they are white supremacists at their core. This need for the man to make this much money. You wouldn't have this same standard on a white man. She wouldn't. I bet money she wouldn't. Because his whiteness is his value. So black man says, you're not white, you gotta compensate for not being white by doing X, Y, Z, paying all the bills, giving me a life of luxury, all this other stuff. All right. So this is a young woman in need of therapy, I want to say, but I think it's anti-black, anti-African at its core. White genocidal, white supremacy. I know we don't like the word white supremacy, but in her mind, in her bird brain, she believes that white people are better somehow. whenever they talk about all of the luxury goods and the wealth that white people have, they never mention what white people did to get it. They really believe the myth that white people came over here and they were industrious and they worked hard and they saved and they treat their women like queens. And they really, really believe that bullshit. And you'll ignore the fact that white people got their wealth through the genocide of the indigenous people of this continent. Hell, they've committed genocide on every populated landmass they've been through, the theft of resources, the rape of women. Okay, white people have created whole new ethnic groups from raping women. Okay, hello, Latinos. So they'll ignore that shit. They'll ignore the enslavement of Africans, or the colonialism and how they built that wealth. And I'm sorry, white men treat their women well. The first person the white man started whooping up was the white woman. Hell, they whooping on white women before they left the caves. So this woman needs a history lesson. Although she had a problem when the brother started quoting history to her because it showed her lies. I done cooked a little bit. I let the food on the stove a little bit. I'll let y'all talk.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Thanks for starting that one off. Real Black Gentleman, what say you?
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, part of me doesn't want to give it more amplification because I mean, this is a case of like this. I think is a case of again. I think life trying to imitate art, as it were. You know, I mean, most. You know, most. How would I say it? Most black women marry black men. You know what I'm saying, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like, 80+%, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely preponderant. So I don't think that, I think that what it is a case of, her running with something and just, I don't know. I wouldn't give it play. I wouldn't even try to I guess I just don't see how even the direct conversation helps because I mean, I think there's a lot of already entrenched ideas. You could try to talk, but then in order to I suppose change her mind, it would take quite a bit of time, or at least strategic notions, seeds, planted in her mind that would sprout if she was exposed and paid attention to some things. She if he were to say pay attention to something to this, at some point, and you might see what I'm saying. I mean, things like that can help. Part of it, what got me is the dude at the end who said that he knew her and knew the environment. And one thing that I kind of noticed that he was like, the men weren't shit. I mean, I don't know how true that could be. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to sit here and say that the men were just not good. And part of that has to do with the fact that men aren't allowed in the homes. You know what I'm saying? Where all that goes, it's not absentee fathers, the men aren't allowed on the property, you know what I'm saying? If they're not on the lease type stuff. So it's there's a bit of that. I mean, it is true that when there's no men, you don't want you need men in the community. You need the men there. You just you don't want a whole bunch of women in spies. There won't be an order. I mean, just things happen, things that, men have the strength for that women can't do, and things just not being kept up type stuff. But I as far as having her being, how'd I say it? I guess you would have to worry about it if it were that, what I'm saying, if it keeps going, because you don't want more and more, you don't want, 3 more generations of this. I mean, the problem is that you have to, people have to actually get engaged in civics, and that's part of it. I mean, there's no reason why, when we talk about, what I'm saying, the women not wanting the men, it's well, I mean, we it's as black men, many black men, you know what I'm saying, in all environments, you know what I'm saying, from the hood to the woods, you know what I'm saying, talk about what it is that's going on. And yet I kind of feel to some degree women aren't right there with us. We talking about what it is, right? And yet and still women are kind of tone deaf to what it is, because they part of it's not knowing what's going. I mean, you're allowed to draw your own conclusion. You know what I'm saying? At least like figure out what's going on. I mean, I don't want to cop that out to like personality or like the nature of women. I mean, people got perceptions about stuff, and part of that I would say is culturally, you know, not knowing what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It can be seen as a good trait. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Appreciate that, RBG. In the chat, Trigger262 Plus says there is a divest on Instagram who have took the quote unquote hard wig, soft life, saying to a whole new level. She's Kenyan. He says, I think we need to be real about divestorship. It is growing and becoming more prominent in the West because our people live their lives next to non-black people. Yeah, I agree with that. Jose, what say you to
it? I think maybe it's better that I keep it short. I'm so tired of being gaslit. I'm so tired of the unaccountability. You know, so she grew up in that neighborhood, and you know, some things I don't know how exactly it went over there. I hear about Section 8 and men benefits when you keep the men out of the house. You know, that sounds kind of aggressive compared to how it went over here. Over here it was like over here the ladies, quote unquote, the ladies were getting pregnant to get their own house, you know, to get their own home, and in their mind they were thinking about, oh, I'm free. No, you're not free. You got that home because you were pregnant, you know, so you have responsibilities. You're not going to club like 3 out of 7 days a week, you know. It's not it, you know. So when I hear, I was cringing, or you know, next level, listening to our sister over there. So yeah, that's what I have to say about it. I'm tired of being gaslit. Can you please can we please get shoulder to shoulder and fix our worldwide black population, please? Thank you.
No, thank you, Jose. Kofi, what say you?
The comments were very interesting, and I think Black Steel touched on it a little bit. Trauma, right? It seems like she went through a lot of trauma, and you said there was a guy there that knew her. I mean, I've personally known some people that have this in life. Does she look like she's probably in her 30s or whatever and stuff like that? And I've seen and I've dealt with women, and I know women and some men, and you're always questioning why they think the way they think. And you pretty much act out your trauma. It identifies who you are as a part of your characteristics. I know I seen that there's a YouTuber for any Anthony and Wanda probably knows who I'm going to talk about, for example, only so they could understand. There's a person here on YouTube, and he has a very right leaning, persuasive as far as like being a diehard Republican, believes in all the racism, the racist tropes of what black people are and how black people are no good and black people need, you know, can't be trusted. Black people are violent, you know, fan of Candace Owens, fan of Ben Shapiro, all of that. And you're like, ooh, why? This person is a walking stereotype. This person, by their own admission, saying, hey, look, I grew up on welfare. My mother didn't want to work, right? My daddy's locked up in jail, and my father never, you know, my father was a hustler, and my mother was chasing my father all the time. My daddy, my uncles is pimps, and my aunts is whores, and this is that. So if you have someone growing up seeing a black person growing up seeing these things, it makes total sense why they would think this way. So she's growing up and she's seeing next to no men in the house, right? And the men that are around her are no good. It makes perfect sense why she would think like that. It makes perfect sense, especially I'll assume at an adolescent age, because that's impressive. That's your worldview. You cannot tell this woman that black men are this, that. That black men aren't despicable, black men aren't leaders, and all these other things. You can't tell her that because that's her reality. Who are you to tell her that's not her reality? None of us have walked in her shoes. What this conversation that she had with that brother is a very good conversation they had, because it exposed she's outside of her trauma bubble, and it shows how irrational her thinking is, right? So in this case, she needs therapy, right? And because what she said doesn't just totally measure up to sense. And like Jose says, yes, I don't think it's really being gaslit. I think a little bit of it is, but I think it's mostly this is something that she actually believes. I don't think she's trolling. I don't think she's doing none of that. I know women. I had a girlfriend before one time that she was sexually abused by her father, right? So what did she do as a result? She was very promiscuous, right? And psychologically speaking, she's like, okay, look, if a man wants me, this is what he wants. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take charge, right? So she becomes promiscuous. I'm gonna be in charge of the situation. I'm gonna be victimized. If I'm gonna be victimized, I'm gonna take charge of my victimization. That, or you become you have intimacy problems. You don't want to be touched. You don't want to be kissed. You don't want to do that. All these are results due to trauma. So with her, she just needs therapy, and I'll just land my plane right there.
I appreciate that, Kofi. Make sure you guys subscribe to Kofi's channel, by the way, and Jose as well. Subscribe to their channels. But that said, Buana, what say you to all of it?
Yeah, so here's many of the people within our community suffers from post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I think that what has happened is that we usually associate that with war. People coming back from war, and they begin to feel, soldiers feeling the effects of these kinds of psychological issues. We tend to label them as people who suffer from that experience. But many environments in which we have to grow up in is tantamount to war psychologically on the mind in terms of the different environments we get raised in. And many of our people, men and women, suffer from these psychological disorders, post-traumatic slave syndromes. This is the reason why sometimes I don't characterize them or call them out of their name. I understand some of my brothers want to take a hardline approach and call them names, bad names, and things like that. And even to the brother who Kofi was referencing, he suffers from that experience too. But what has come out of that is, for me, is a very productive human being. For me, politically, we could disagree, we could have issues all day long. But as far as being functional, it seems like he has come out of that experience as a functional citizen. So I give him kudos to that. This sister may not have, or her reference is, she may have been a little girl. Imagine, if you will, a little girl never having to experience a dad like Kofi, who's a big dad, never seen any kind of human being like that in her environment, or Koku, never seen that, never seen a functional father. And the only time she has seen the comforts of a functional male person is the little child when the mother puts them where? In front of the television. And who do they see? the white dad, protecting, the white dad going to work every day, the white dad securing the home. This is what she possibly would internalize as a little girl. So she not understanding the television is just that, television, telling lies to your vision, propagandizing you about how things really are. She don't know about Jeff, who lives in a trailer park, who hasn't seen his children in years. And he has a bunch of children out there. That does not exist to her. What exists to her is the world that's been manufactured when you put the little daughter, the little girl in front of the television. So of course she's gonna believe and think the grass is green on the other side. You know, and so my heart goes out to I understand she is talking in a way that it turns us off as men, you know. But if we was to get past our emotion or the so-called leveling of accusation, just see this lady for what she actually is. She is a person who is suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, and she doesn't know how to handle it. And she really has internalized or believes that the grass is greener on the other side because she is trying to escape her reality. She's trying, just like many of us are. You know, many of us are trying to escape in different ways. The brother mentioned joining these cults and organizations that we believe is going to get us to the proverbial promised land. You know, I personally think my escape is knowledge itself. You know, understanding who I am. I think that for me, that's the biggest escape. But we live in a situation that is extremely oppressive. Now, how people respond to that in a psychological way have different kind of results going on, different kind of things going on with different individuals. We could point to her specifically and say, what is wrong with you? But many of us have our own little crosses to bear, proverbial crosses to bear. That's why I am very slow to criticize certain people. You know what I mean? Like I say, man, we living on and some of us living on a big plantation. Some of us. And we are trying to do what we can to escape from that experience. As this gentleman was saying, she come from an environment that was probably extremely deprived. So she really believes that dating a white male person is gonna improve her standing and situation. Little does she know. That's an unfortunate thing. But I feel like that's the reason why I'm very slow to be critical of my brothers and sisters on certain levels. And I understand the tendency towards want to, you know what I mean, throw them in the garbage bin. But I try to fight my feelings and sentiments and tell them, say, come, I'll invite her to the Bitter Medicine podcast. Let's sit down and have a conversation. And maybe we could come to a different analysis. Now, some people are so far gone, forget about them. Some people are so far gone, forget about them. And I understand that too. But where we can sit down and have an exchange like this brother, you would be surprised how far he get with that dialogue because he challenged her intellectually on a certain way. Now, she may not change tomorrow, but she can start questioning some of the hard and fast beliefs that she may have coming from her experience. And I think that sharing is the way for us to be able to mentally heal each other and reap the rewards of that eventually. We have to sit down and talk with one another, even though some of our commentaries, you know, and some of our dialogues and exchanges that we may have, may be even repulsive. But you have to understand what we dealing with. We deal with people who suffering from post-traumatic. We are sick. We sick. We sick. You know what I mean? And no one is gonna heal us out of our situation if not for each other. We gotta do it. You know, but I'll leave it there, Koku.
Shout out to Anthony. I guess he had to drop off the panel, but I think I got everyone on that, right? Is there any final thought?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So two other panel members mentioned our young brother in LA, and let's be serious, guys. Come on. So if you grow up in that environment and you are growing up children yourself too, you want to make clear every day, every chance that you got. You want to make clear that to your child that the environment that you come from is an absolute no. So you have to be harsh, you know. Politics. Okay, we don't agree. maybe maybe Pan Africanism and Pan Americanism is a little bit confused in that corner. But how he criticizes us, the critique that he has on our behavior worldwide, because it's way more American than you think here in Europe. I mean, the European dream is a marketing scheme. So the more clients, the better, right? The second pens all over the globe. But the critique that he has on us is on point. You have to be harsh, stingy, etc. So that the next generation would not want to go there. So I on this matter, the brother is on point. He has a beautiful daughter, and he wants her to land on her 2 feet and not on her back. That's it.
Can I respond?
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, what Coco and Jose say is I do. I mean, he came out of that situation good, but I still say, and none of you can deny that the rhetoric that he has is a product of his environment, which is self-defecating and self-defeating to so-called Pan-Africanism. No person that is pro-black, that has a healthy view of themselves, is going to align themselves with a group of people or political party that says that and his own, that defends a leader saying Africans are shithole countries, that Candace Owens backs Candace Owens saying black people are the most violent people in America, that black people use abortion like birth control, right? That is not a person of a person that's mentally sound. That's not a person who is should be a representative of black people and black thought, because as we all know, yes, there are some people in our community that are like that. That person should not be the spokesman of our community. That person should not be the representation of our community. That person should not be the standard for what pro-blackness is. So I disagree when it comes to that, because not of him, because his allegiance, his alliances, right? I judge a man by his works and what he said, right? He may talk some good stuff in the end, but when it comes to how black people should maneuver politically and socially in this white paradigm, he wants you to be up under the nutsacks of white supremacy, right? That's a house nigga mentality. That's a coon mentality. And I'll just end it right there.
All right. If there's no other last thoughts, I'll let KW Dawn give the last thought from the chat. He said, I don't give two shits about divestitures. Traders have to cast away. Omawali Africa had her on his podcast, and she trolled the whole time. I haven't seen that's nation state of mind. I haven't seen anything from him in a long time.
He's doing the food, I forgot. So the Southern food thing for sovereignty. So I think he's opening up a farm, and I think he put a lot of his energy in some land that he has down south in order for for food sovereignty that he's trying to do. So I think he's doing a very big project. I think that's why he hasn't posted in a while.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen him I hadn't seen him in a while. That would explain it then. Okay. Let's go shoot a breeze topic number 4 tonight. Shoot a breeze topic number 4 says, is he correct? Is he correct? By the way, we're going to end at 11 p.m. or thereabouts, so just hang in there with us. This came with a link. It's going to take us to Instagram. So these are usually short videos. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss.
Because the Bible and you just living your life every day and you die, are you going to go to hell? Because the Bible and the Quran and these books only take effect when you know they're around and you believe them. Up until that point, they don't exist to you. So you're the one that's governing yourself with whatever you're doing. So you're the first God, first of all. Let's say you lived in the deepest forest, never came across the Bible, and you just living your life every day, and you die. Are you going to go to hell? Because the Bible and the Quran and these books only take effect when you know they're around and you believe them. Up until that point, they don't exist to you. So you're the one that's governing yourself with whatever you're doing. So you're the first God, first of all.
So I played it twice for everyone to catch it. KW Don 7 pointed out that Omawali Africa had a brother who passed away, so he hasn't been on YouTube since that happened. I wasn't aware of that either. You know, my condolences to that brother too. So we just heard this video twice. We're basically saying you are the God. You are God. And you know, that used to be taught one time ago. Until it wasn't advantageous for the established religions anymore. Right? That used to be taught that the kingdom of God is within you. You are God. So you know, and I'm pretty sure as Africans we have that concept as well. You are a creator. You are God. So, you know, this guy asks a sensible question. It's one of these Abrahamic religion topics, you know, but he asks the question: if you never was introduced to this Abrahamic religions, it would have no effect on you. If it would have no effect on you, how can their prescribed punishments have an effect on you? You know, you are the God. It comes back to you. You know. With that said, let's go to Real Black Gentleman. What say you to this, RBG?
I mean, it makes sense if you recognize that. I mean, as a man, basically, you have. I mean, if you use your wits and intelligence, you have dominion over, you know, every plant and animal. And at this point, you get a microscope, you really can. You know what I'm saying? You got dominion. It is what it is. It's like it's one of those things that I mean, I know that I'm capable of, you know what I'm saying? If the knowledge is out there, you know, I can do, you know what I'm saying, anything. Like, you know, I can do stuff that ain't been thought out yet, right? Now that in the sense that my creativity in that sense, but that doesn't mean I'm immune necessarily. I can have an idea about something that could cause my demise, but you know what I'm saying? I'm still flesh and bone, right? You know what I'm saying? So like when he said that like you're the first God, like I mean God is in you, and you know what I'm saying? Creation's in you, and you impact creation, right? So I mean, as we are, I mean, we manifest creation, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is that we do, you know what I'm saying, as African people. I mean, I'm not saying that there's certainly forces beyond us that can shape us, that can change us, you know, the wind and water, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Man doesn't have power over that necessarily, you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, these animals, you know what I'm saying? Blue whale, you know what I'm saying? Elephant. I mean, if you want to get you a whale, you can get you a whale. If you want to knock out all the ants, you can knock out all the ants. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's like, as far as like, you know, that sense of dominion, you know, we can take animals and domesticate them. I mean, before these white people, we had cattle and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? We, instead of having the cattle trying to catch a cow, we just like got a cow and just like, you know, kept on it. Cause, you know, you can just keep a cow. You know, we domesticated elephants, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Lions, like, you know what I'm saying? We black people domesticate lions. So it's that sense of dominion of over me versus the beast. I win every time. That sense of God, right? You know what I'm saying? No, the forces of nature, lava and volcanoes, there ain't no man touching that. You might have the foresight to not get burnt up by it or not get flooded by it. Yeah, and that's important because a lot of animals don't have that sense of foresight. That I'm gonna leave it there.
The words of RBG. Peace, God. Let's have from let's mix it up a little bit. Let's have from Buana on this.
Yeah. So so when just on the face of this, his outfit kind of stand out to me because I'm assuming that he is along with those Nawabian people, and that Nawabians have left a very bad taste in my mouth personally, for different kinds of reasons. But his logic is a little bit flawed, because if you're the only first God, that means you never would have known your mom, because you can't create yourself. You can't create yourself, so somebody created you. So that means the first God would not necessarily be yourself; it have to be your creator. So if you know your mom would be your first God. Your mom and dad, at least, they would be your first God that you. So I don't necessarily. I think his logic is a little bit flawed. And looking at it like that, but on spiritual issues, this is not my expertise whatsoever. But for me personally, I think that to be walking around in that outfit in 2024, I think that he is a very brave person, because when I hit any kind of mental gymnastics that I hear these guys come on with, I kind of like turn the switch off, man. These brothers have left not all of them, but I'm saying that their headship and many people who follow them have left a horrible taste in the mouths of people. So I don't know, man. I just can't with this brother. But I think his logic is flawed, though. But I'll leave it there.
RBG in the chat had said, "Oh no, not the heretics." RBG, you want to expand on that?
No, I mean them the New Orleans is crazy. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, damn. I would if it. I mean, I hope that's not what it is. I mean, I'd have to adjust my thing. Yeah, I'd have to add on. I mean, but I wasn't trying to take away from femininity, because I mean, a woman can do it. I mean, her wits. You see what I'm trying to get at? The dominion is not merely a man thing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I hope I can clarify that. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate that, RBG. No, let's go to Jose. Jose, what say you?
Yes. Where should I start? Okay, we're in the conversation with each other. Okay, we're not attacking each other, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to attack Bwana Hagiziki, right? I'm going to try to display how we are tied to the biblical Abrahamic approach, right? So
Jose, hold on, Jose. Attack me, brother. I don't mind the attacks, brother. If you think that I'm talking bullshit, please tell me, please.
I was just going to mention you. So Brana said, so if you are your first God, can you create yourself? Create? What do you mean create? Like clay, like playing with clay and then blowing breath in it? No, of course not. So the Bible, and yes, I'm going to refer to the Bible because these Neanderthal, these monkeys, they were not on our level when they found us weak, and the remaining books that these monkeys of the destruction of these monkeys, they didn't understand it. So let me give this example, and I assume, because this is the most simple example that I have. I assume that I've mentioned it before, but if I did, I'm sorry for repeating. So in Genesis it says, God said, "Let there be light," right? And He saw that it was good, right? And then comes this dude. His parents hid him in Egypt, where he learned a lot of wisdom, right? And this dude, he reads those those old stories arrive at him, and he tend to understand him. So he tries to explain to his friends, his 12 friends, or his lodge, or whatever that it was, maybe the crew of his spaceship, whatever, So he explains to his friends in another metaphor, right? And one of his friends, John, he understood it like this: God is the word is God, God is with the word, a whole riddle about the word being with God and God being with the word and the word being God and God being the word, right? So here you are Adam, right? You just came out of the pussy of your mother. You are naked concerning knowing, right? You're naked. You
Wait,
don't
wait,
know
hold on, hold on,
any.
hold on. I know I'm cutting you off. How was Adam born vaginally?
No, here we go. That's what I'm saying. We slash quote unquote we are all stuck to the bullshit that this Neanderthal took out of it. I'm trying to take it to an African scientific level because we are talking about the spirit, the mind. So as a baby, you are as Adam. You are naked of knowledge. So God, your consciousness, presents the world to you. And it starts with this face, always saying mama, mama, and this other face in another voice saying papa, papa. And at a certain point, you pick that up. Why? Because you realize that naming things has a result in this reality. So when you copy that one face and you start saying mama, mama, that face turns up, right? So it's the same thing as Adam in that book. God, our consciousness, our human consciousness, because it's man and not a man. But anyway, Adam starts naming things. He said, let that be light. Our consciousness realized that naming that shit light made sense. So we saw that it was good. You understand? So, dude, I find it funny how dude brings it. He said, you're the first God. And I'm like, wow, what a refreshing way to describe our mind, this infinite blackness in the image of that other, the universe is also an infinite blackness, and it gives us space, pun intended, to exist. So God didn't create us out of clay, no. This emptiness, this vacuum, this nothing is space where we can exist in. It's a whole other type of logic, but it makes more sense than clay or nothing exploding. It's those books were stolen from us, or picked out of the remains of their destruction. Those books came from us, the people that built pyramids. Do you really believe that those people believed that there was a nothing that started sculpting clay, and he blew breath in it? People that made something like Giza, let alone all the other temples worldwide, do you really believe that those people think like the monkeys that govern the world today and the religion? So let go of all that nonsense and rewind. Again, in short, resume. God said, let there be light. That was our mind. That were words close to God. God is word, word is God. God is consciousness. Words are the closest to our consciousness. So, yes, God said, let there be light. God said, let there be light. And later explained in John 1:1, it says, God is the word is God. So consciousness and verbal communication is what maintains God, our mind. So, conversations, shit that we do on Shoot the Breeze, is God is present. Consciousness is present, right? We do this. We do this with an intention, right? Okay, I'll pass the mic.
Can I ask a question? I want to ask a quick question. So to Jose. So if my consciousness says that I am God, right? But I look at myself, looking over my God body, and I recognize that I have a little indentation in the middle of my stomach, and I name it a navel, right? Like a navel. Should my consciousness say, well, where did that navel come from, and why is that navel there? Because I'm a God now, and with a God consciousness. So my godliness will want me to investigate why do I have a navel, and where does it come from, and was it connected to something? Because now, if I'm the first God, that means that before me there was no God. Right? So, but if I look at my body and I'm recognizing I have an indentation in the middle of my stomach, and I name it a navel, I'm gonna ask myself, oh, what's the purpose of that? What's that for? And that's gonna lead me to another kind of conclusion. Do you understand where I'm going with this, or no? Jose?
Or better yet, ask them if you're exploring your body, why do men have nipples?
I guess he left. I guess he
I
left.
guess he left. Joseph, you're there. All right, I guess Jose's not there. Who did I not get to? Is it
I'm muted. I was muted.
All right, well, Jose, go ahead.
So that's why I took the approach of being born to answer the last question. That's why I took the approach of being born is equal to Adam naked in the garden, right? So Bwana Hagaziki posed questions with words. So your navel is there. But when you're a baby, your feeling. So the language with this universe that is presented to you by your conscious, the language at that moment is not yet completely in words. So you're feeling warmth. It's soft. You feel it from the inside. And as a child, you're studying it. You're all the reactions, you're pinching with your hands, you're kicking with your legs, and as you do it, you get something back. And we should continue with that. As we speak, we get our thoughts back into our ears, and that's how we actually grow. So even when you're at school, it's you that realize, and it's you that learn. It's not the teacher entering in your head, writing something down, and then put it on a shelf. It's you. It's always you. So yes, you're the first God. Even at when you're 15 and you know a lot of words in a lot of languages, you're still your first God. When you realize something, or when you see something for the first time, you go like aha, or mm-hmm. And that's the communication between your consciousness and you. So all that God, what he said, I find it golden. Like you're your first God. Yes, indeed. My consciousness is my first God. Thank you.
In the chat, Judaism says black man is not even close to God. Us to mute the mic. He says the black man is not even close to God. He is amoral and immoral. He doesn't and hasn't behaved godly in eons. Did I get to Black Steel on this one?
Yeah, I think so. I was the last one.
Okay. You can call on me if you want.
So this dude,
Black Steel and Kofi. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what this dude here, I think he's asking a theological question that I myself had when I was younger. If people existed without knowledge of the Bible, without knowledge of the Quran, are those people doomed to hellfire, right? So the idea is that can a person be held responsible for knowledge that they never received? Somebody lived their whole life with no knowledge of Jesus, no knowledge of religion, right? Would that person then be doomed to hell for not accepting Christ or not acknowledging Allah as God and Muhammad as his prophet? So this is the question that I myself had struggled with when I was much younger, young, adolescent teenager. My mom had me and my brother in Sunday school and Wednesday night Bible study. And I would often ask these questions that how does God judge people who have no knowledge of his word, or and what this man is saying is that we perceive these. And this is the question that I've given up on, because ultimately it doesn't really matter. But for someone who's a believer, and this is kind of what I think what his point is, to, who are these people to tell you who's condemned and who's not condemned? And I think that's a very interesting question. I don't know if I help come to the same conclusion as he does, but overall, I think what he's trying to say is that instead of looking for uh, just something outside of yourself as the beyond, look inward for yourself. But I think that question is something that a lot of people, I think that question is what kind of sets people on a particular path that leads them away from organized religion, because it comes across as cruel for people to be judged by all powerful, all knowing deity and sent to be severed for eternity for some information they never even had. So I think that's what his question would be, and I think that question is one of the first questions that leads you away from religion, especially the Abrahamic faith, because God within the Abrahamic faith is kind of is a cruel deity. He regularly, routinely kills whole groups of people and children and animals. He destroyed the world, and he's done all types. He rains fire and brimstone and turns people into salt. So looking at that and studying the Old Testament, you start to say, hey, wait a minute. This guy seems like kind of like an asshole. So then that starts to, that leads onto a chain reaction. So I'll leave it there.
All right, Kofi, you want to add something?
Yeah, pretty much. Like Sid pretty much said what I was gonna say. I mean, I understand how Jose is trying to link African spirituality with it, but you can't link African spirituality with Abrahamic faith. When Abrahamic faith, when we talk about the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible, is just anti-black, anti-African, right? Using the Adam and Eve story and stuff like that, just in its inception, makes no sense, right? And when you talk about God is knowledge, God is not knowledge. God is God and Satan are two sides of the same coin, right? If Satan is God's alter ego, that's what it is. So when we talk about the Garden of Eden and knowledge, that doesn't make any sense to me when it comes to when we're talking about, because guess what? What happened? They were both naked, right? God could have put the tree, it's called the tree of life, the tree of good and evil, the tree of knowledge, right? God created the infinite universe along with the earth. He could have put that tree anywhere in the universe, in existence, but he's going to put it a couple yards away from Adam and Eve and say, don't touch that. You can have everything else. You have dominion over the plants, the trees, the land. Don't touch that, right? Once they ate that, what happened? They realized they were naked, right? They realized because why? They have ate from the tree of good and evil. They have ate from the tree of knowledge. God keeps knowledge from you. God has always kept knowledge from you and was punished for having knowledge. They hid behind the bush. God says, why are you hiding behind the bush? He said, I'm naked. Who told you were naked? Right? And it's a very weird, that whole story makes no sense. So I like this topic right here, because same thing with Black Student, you said it is like you were in my head. When I was growing up, going to Sunday school, I was a diehard Christian, and I asked that same question. I'm like, wait. Because I also love history at the same time. So I was like, wait, there was a time when Christianity wasn't, and it's obviously a time when Christianity was. So if it says God saved the world, that that he gave his only forgotten son, yada yada yada. Okay, what happened to the people 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 20 generations before Jesus? What happens to them? And I never get a clear answer, right? Because you got to understand, the whole Garden of Eden story is about sin. is about feeling guilty, right? If you feel that you're imperfect, right, and you're born into sin and you buy that bullshit, then you're going to be looking for a remedy. Oh, who has a remedy? Oh, Jesus, Yahweh, El. Oh, who has also have the remedy? Oh, Muhammad, right? Allah. They have it doesn't work with real African spirituality. It doesn't happen with spirituality, right? Because no one is saying is selling you anything, right? And I think that's the difference here. And I think as a whole, Abrahamic religions has done more harm to Black people than it has done good when we look at the history of it. And I think we just need to leave it alone. I could talk about this forever, but I like how this guy put it. Like, if you didn't know it, how would you know, right? We got to understand that we have African systems, African religion that predates Abraham religions by millennium. So when you tell Black people this and stuff like that, so why are you going to pick up some trash? Why are you going to pick up something that's more recent? You want to go, you want to go to the root. You want to go to the source. Why am I playing with something that's been shaken down, shaken and rehashed and stirred up and mixed up? Why am I doing that? It's no longer no good. It's no longer authentic. I'll leave it right there.
Appreciate that, Kofi. Jose, I'll give you but be brief. I'll give you the last word here before we go to the last topic of the night. You're muted if you're talking.
You mean now?
Yeah, no, yeah.
I typed in the nakedness, right, the nakedness. So look at our people. I experience it a lot in the hood. So when you reach out to somebody, for example, we're making beats, right? There's this crew in neighborhood XYZ, and they heard of me, and they wish that I come by and help them out with their little home studio, right? I start explaining, and people get uncomfortable. Like, is that not why you called me? So look at how we react when especially in the hood, especially our proletarians, when you explain something. Now you're something, right? So now you're something, and that's that feeling naked. What they're speaking of. Right? Because what are we speaking here? We are speaking about the human mind. We are speaking about consciousness, God, and what's the opposite of God, of consciousness? Excuse me. What tries to trump consciousness? That's ego / narcissism, right? So the law is X, right? Be it a fruit on an apple. I need to share my screen to explain one of the trees of knowledge that I see in Genesis. But anyway, it's really science, right? Like universal nature, universe, etc. But anyway, so the nakedness that they feel is shame. So when does the nakedness occur? It occurs when Eve is already present, right? Because when Adam is a generation. Adam is man, not a man, with a dick. No, man. So the whole humanity. So man studied, and man gave things a name. Adam, the Adam generation, quote unquote, reached the highest form of knowledge, right? Look at the pyramids again, and then after that, or after a while, insecurity came in, and ego and laziness, intellectual laziness tends to come across like ego, right? But it are people that do not want to do the work. So Eve, yeah, okay, the law is like this, but till this day you have that. It's like it didn't happen once. It's a system. So but people, they have they agree that there is a law, but they want to enforce always what follows after the but is something that they want to enforce. We have to unite, yeah, but we have to unite in my plan or in my vision, whatever, you know. So we are living now in the Eve era, where insecurity, ego, and all that bullshit rules. And if you look at that in that way, yes, Satan / ego and narcissism rules at this moment. Ego and narcissism rules. You cannot deny it. So yes, Satan rules. Satan is the ruler of this materialistic, consumeristic, selfish, egocentric world. So yeah, we can stick, and you know, even fighting those religions is actually affirming that fairy tale approach of science, of the science of the mind. You sound lost to me if you speak of a God as a creator, as a person with arms and all that type of bullshit. No, the creator is the opportunity. What was the opportunity? The emptiness of space. The emptiness of space gave the opportunity for stars to exist. How it happened, I don't even care.
All right. Thank you for that.
I just want to say one scripture, since we're on this Bible round. I want to say one scripture. It's a scripture in Isaiah. It says, "I, the Lord God, made light. I, the Lord God, made darkness. I, the Lord God, made good and evil. I made all these things," and that says a lot. That's it.
All right. Thank you guys for that. Trigger Happy 262 Plus in the chat says, "I get what Jose means. I will use Isfet though." But yeah, Erzuliism is out there in the chat. I put it up on the screen, but I forgot to read out loud his earlier comments. His last comment was, "But you don't even follow African spirituality." Erzuli, you had an opportunity to come up and add to that conversation, but you didn't. So we'll move on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 to end the night out. Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 says, "Why didn't we put Dragonfly in a video game? What should another character be if we had?" This came with a link. It's taking us to YouTube. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss.
Zero below David. Subscribe. You want peace? Let us be.
Silent! Silent!
Fight!
Had you been practicing on your art, you know your way in the dark. Silent!
Allow me to demonstrate our skills.
Shall we go again? Learning from the master is your pay, punk.
Excellent. Brutality. Dragonfly Jones wins. Flawless.
You know, the guy who they need to add to that game, as the prompt asked about, is Tyrone, his student. Tyrone is student whoop his ass in that game.
You gotta give it to me, man. You gotta give it to me because I think I have to say something for it. So this is a little bit misleading. Would you let me go, or are you going to pass it to somebody else?
Well, let me finish my statement first, and I'll pass it to you.
All right, cool.
That, by the way, is the best that Dragonfly has ever looked in any appearance he's made in the past. So as Black Steel said, hilarious. Zuliism was out there laughing. Juana says this got to be Oni with too much time on his hand. I agree. With that said, though, let's hear from Kofi first. Kofi, what say you?
All right, so I'm a gamer, right? I have this game. It's Mortal Kombat 1, right? I'm a big gamer. I can't stress that enough, right? Since I was a little kid, I'm a big gamer. This is a mod, right? Mod meaning it's a modification. So what they did, the person that he's mimicking is Liu Kang, which is a character. So all that they did was just modify Liu Kang to look like Dragonfly, like Tyrone, to look like him. Because all the moves that he has is not his own moves. All the moves, the fatalities, the brutalities, the fireballs, the kicks is the character named Liu Kang. So if you were to play this back, look at it, right, and put Liu Kang in, it's all the same move. So this is not unique. This is someone you just modified a character to look like whatever character they have, but all the moves are still the same moves of that character. The only thing that's different is the is how they look. That's it. It's hilarious. I like it. That's a good idea. There in Mortal Kombat 11, which was the last game like this, they had, if you guys are movie fans of anything by Michael Jai White, he played the original Spawn, right? So Spawn was in Mortal Kombat 11, and the guy that did Spawn's voice in the animated version, oh my God, I forgot his name. He does a lot of voiceovers. The black actor, he does a lot of voiceovers, right? He did the voice for Spawn, so that's good. Cool, he got a job. But
Keith David, his name.
yeah, King David, yes. So he plays the animated version voice for Spawn, and Michael Jai White played the physical Spawn. So I just wanted to say that for people, to have a right perception. Don't think like actually Dragonfly Jones is in Mortal Kombat 1, because it's not. All this is Liu Kang. So I'll pass the mic.
All right, thank you for that. RBG, what say you to the idea of Dragonfly having been in a video game? And who would the other character be to go along with him for you?
I honestly, I might be showing my age. I don't know who Dragonfly is. I would have not. I don't. That's crazy. I don't know. Am I missing something here?
There was a TV show. There was a TV show Martin. One of Martin's characters was Dragonfly Jones.
Oh, and Martin?
Yes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That dude. Oh, okay. When Martin played, that's hilarious. Yeah. My bad. I'm kind of. Well, it's like I didn't know what you was talking about until I knew what it was. I know what Martin is. I know what Martin plays his characters. All right, you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I think it's great. I'm gonna pass. Shut up, you're Zerly.
Yeah. RBG. I don't know, man. Jose, what say you?
Could this be part of propaganda? Could this be part of instilling pride in our children? The everlasting representation. Because I fuck a little with 3D. Not with gaming, but almost all 3D programs has something to do with gaming. But I understand what happened here. So somebody made a model of a black guy, and they weight painted it to the rig of this already existing character in Mortal Kombat. So yeah, I understand what happens. I never fucked with games, you know. I kept as far away from games as I kept it. No, yeah. I treated games like hard drugs. I was afraid of getting addicted. So I you know, last time that I touched a game, I think I was like 16 or 17, 18 maybe. But I understand what happened, and I see this as a way to stimulate our next generations to fuck with the future. That's all I have to say about this.
Yes, sir. So I'll just add in here. Joseph, mute your mic. You get the feedback.
Again?
I had to mute your mic. There's too much feedback. Yeah, I think the general idea, whether it's a mod or not, just the idea that a guy or gal took time to mod this character, and in the video here, add the effect of Martin's voice saying some of the catchphrases from the TV show. I think it's actually pretty cool. I think it's pretty aware as well. I think it's pretty aware. And they go and they add the Tyrone character, who's a student of Dragonfly, who always beats up Dragonfly in the TV show. It will be pretty aware. I think it's also a good idea because I think it can be propaganda. I mean, listen, I grew up in the Caribbean. I can tell you when I was small, we thought a Chinese guy could do karate. You know what I mean? Because of the movies that we used to get pumped, Bruce Lee and whatnot. So you know, what I wish I would see more, because I gotta believe the technology is such that it's not hard to catch up to this stuff now. I wish I could see some of our people actually creating these games. You know, this basic concept of a static background, more or less, and two players fighting in the foreground, and we are creating our own characters based on our own mythologies, our own spiritualities, and whatnot, like these people do. I would love to see that day come, and I would hope that'll come sooner rather than later, so that we have this alternative to these other people's folklore and mythologies and thoughts and whatnot. You know. With that said, let me go to Black Steel. Black Steel will say.
So Kofi, we're gonna have to trade gamer tag soon, bro. We get online and do some gaming together. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so anyways, I would say just we didn't put Dragonfly in a game because we didn't make a game, right? There's no fighting game that's made by majority black people. In fact, I think there's very few gaming studios that have a majority black cast. There was a recent game. Now there was a game a couple years ago, an Assassin's Creed game, and there was a black man who played the main character, the voice actor. So this man actually came out with a studio recently, and he produced a game with a majority with a black main character. And oh man, they were review bombing the game, saying the game was woke, and you know, just being real disrespectful to the point where he actually had to come out and speak on some of the hatred that they were giving for the game. I'll see if I can find that video at some point. We can maybe talk about that. But yeah, that's probably why, because we don't really have a black gaming studio. In fact, the last probably main all black fighting game, if I'm gonna pull it from the crates, Def Jam Fight for New York and Def Jam Vendetta. Now those are two games. They had rappers who were basically in a fighting game. So you had Fat Joe and Snoop and a lot of different rappers who were basically fighting in this game. That was a great series, Def Jam Fight for New York. But If I were to put a character in a black character in a fighting game, it would probably be Bruce Leroy from The Last Dragon, or Bushido Brown from Boondocks. So Bushido Brown don't wipe his own ass would be my choice. If they make a black person in a fighting game. But yeah, I do think it's definitely owning with too much time on his hands to have to talk about this. But yeah, I think that would be a interesting game. But this is a fun mod to look at. It's interesting, see people being creative with these games and whatnot. I like to play Street Fighter. Actually, I do own Mortal Kombat. My son has it. But I've always been more of a person who enjoys Street Fighter myself. But yeah, Kofi, let me get that gamer tag, man. Anytime. And I'm on vacation this week.
All right, Kofi stepped away, but I'm sure he'll be listening. Hit up Black Steel when you have a time. I like this quote that Trigger Happy put up. It's along the lines of what I was trying to say too. He said that one thing that has to be clear when it comes to Japan and their video games and animation, a lot of it is based on their spirituality or the spirituality of their neighbors. He said this is why our culture can be economic as well. If we institutionalize our culture back and make it dominate the amount of ideas we can have when it comes to creativity is massive. Yeah, that's why I tell y'all I've been developing this idea along really embracing the creatives more in a kind of a UNIA organization where the whole idea is just to put out propaganda via media, old school print, digital print, games, music, film, the works. I think that's real. I think there's something in that for us, considering we become this kind of group of people that are kind of led by entertainment and stuff like that. I think that's something that's worthwhile looking into. With that said, Buana, what say you to everything?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, this is cool to look at. I would have never thought that I would have seen like the Martin Lawrence character play in actual real Mortal Kombat scenario. For me, I go way back with the Nintendo, man. I stopped playing Nintendo from since Mike Tyson's Punch Out and shit. You know what I mean? When I learned what my mother's Jergens could do on a table, I forgot all about this Nintendo business. But as far as the characters and the graphics, I mean, it's awesome. This stuff has come a long way from since I used to play it back in the day. If I was to use a character, though, I would use like Jai White. Jai White I would use one of his like is a caricature of him, or a cat from the Boondocks, the kids, the two kid, the one kid who was really vested in karate and things of that nature. I would use him, as far as one of the characters. Huey. I would put Huey in one of these scenarios because he was a big karate guy enthusiast. Or Samuel L. Jackson made a cartoon caricature of a karate dude too. Bushido Brown, I think that Black Steel was talking about. I think that they would be very interesting characters. I think that I've never really heard someone go into these fields, black person go into these fields of interest, even though I know they exist. I think one of the Aaron Magruder was an animationist, so he would probably be able to tell, about this side of the game and the caricatures that they could put in games and things of that nature. I'd really be interested to know what his opinion would be on this. But I don't know, it's not a lot of black animationists and people who are working on these kinds of things. Not enough of us. And I think that these things could be easily created by people who are actually in these industries and feel an interest. I think that we should have caricatures. Black Panther would be a very interesting character to create and emulate. and try. These kinds of things that actually go anywhere because this is in a mind technology and creators of technology, so they really could go anywhere. So I would really want our black folks to be interested in these kinds of fields because the storyscapes would be very different from the Chinese oriented storyscapes because they do put their culture or cultural. Look at this guy; he's even wearing the yin and yang thing. So they do put their cultural aspects into these games, and I would really be interested to know how we would put our spin in terms of fighting, capoeira, all these different kinds of things, and how you would put our own African cultures inside of it. So that would be a very interesting thing to look at in the future going forward. But I'll leave it there. Though.
You know, it will be good to put in that. Dessalines will be good to put in that. Ogun, you know, people like that to be able to say you could select Queen Nanny, right? Just to be able to have a imagery and to say you could select one of those types of persons from our history. My man here, not Denmark VC, we could add him to. I'm pulling a blank on the insurrectionists in America here. But yeah, you could put guys like that. Jose in the chat said Kemet deities. You know, that kind of stuff would be.
Oh, that would be interesting too, man. Yeah, that would be interesting. Wow.
Well, you know, there is a game. There's a game called Smite, and it has different pantheons from around the world. So some of the gods, they do have the gods of Kemet, and I think they also have some of the Orisha as well. But I know they definitely it's called Smite. So you can pick
that would be interesting.
any deity that you want to pick. And I think there's a sequel coming out soon that they're going to have those options as well.
I appreciate that, Black Seal. Yeah, we gotta, and like I said, I know there was a time when this stuff was difficult to create, but we know how technology works. I'm sure there's a bunch of instructables or something on Blender or even better, templates or something that you could kind of build a game and all that kind of stuff, man. We really, our what we would call nerds really dropped the ball. I think it was Trigger Happy who said it in the chat. He said a lot of these black animation enthusiasts and gaming enthusiasts also are not embracing their culture and embracing Asian culture more. So there needs to be an ideological change too. And that's why I was about to say our nerds kind of dropped the ball too. Not kind of. They dropped the ball too. They follow, Asian swag and Asian culture, which is so crazy to me. I could see it at a young age if that's how you get into this thing. But at some point, you would think you would embrace your culture. You know what I mean? And do it for your culture, man, and represent for the culture. It's very interesting, and you'll see regular kids, like I have high school age kids, and you'll see their friends. You'll see them, their little drawing pads is all like anime shit, drawing Asian folks. And again, if that's how you got into it, cool, I get it. But when is the pivot coming? Where you start to imagine African images in that way, and start giving African characters these abilities, and this visibility overall. That's the issue I have with it. Trigger Happy 262 says that's the funny thing. They have a bunch of media on Kemet already, so many movies and whatnot. Jose says I have an archive of thousands of movies, but never got to dive into rigging. I got a lot of fighting stuff, probably ripped from games. Okay. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt here before we call it a night? All right. Well, I appreciate everyone who was involved tonight, from the chat to the panel. Before you guys dip off the panel, before you guys leave the chat, let's shout out something positive we saw this week in the African world or personal in our lives. Let's mix it up. Let's start with Buana this week. Buana, what's it?
Well, what went on in the African world is the South African elections, and unfortunately, once again, the ANC won, but the ANC has to share power because they didn't really win over 50% of the votes. So, I mean, hopefully they shared with the EFF. I'm thinking that that's what's going to happen. I ain't 100% sure that yet, but because they're not going to associate themselves with the DA, and they're certainly not going to associate themselves with Jacob Zuma. So I think that the coalition is going to be created is with the EFF, and that'll be very interesting to watch. So South African politics, as we know it, is heating up, and it'll be interesting to see the direction of that country and where it goes in the future. But shouts out to all the brothers who contributed to the panel. Y'all made excellent contributions, and shout out to Kofi for having a dialogue yesterday with people he may not agree with, you know, and entertaining the discussion. I think that was a wonderful thing for the culture. So shout out to him for doing something like that. And like I say, shout out to all the brothers who would have contributed tonight, and all the people who are in the gallery section. Shout out to your brothers for remaining consistent and coming in and listening, and sisters, by the way. You know, but I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Buana. RBG, what would you like to shout out this week?
I guess it was a strike in Nigeria, like a labor strike. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes people get tired of, you know what I'm saying, conditions, you know what I'm saying? They be making adjustments, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, people, you know, come together, you know what I'm saying, making these adjustments. I think, you know what I'm saying, that's always positive. So I do give a shout out for that.
Appreciate that, RBG. Thanks for coming through. Jose Bronze, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to the gods in the panel and the gods in the chat and the gods, us with human hair that distinguish us from primates. Shout out to those gods, black people. That's it.
All right, peace, God. In the chat, Trigabi says, I might make it a prompt, but apparently the AES has been cracking down on their spies and arresting them. So we look forward to that prompt. Thanks for that shout out. Last but not least, Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
A shout out to Burkina Faso, man. You know, I really think they are such a bastion of Pan-Africanism. It really, you know, makes my heart sing to see that. And shout out to everyone on the panel. We had a great show tonight.
Thank you for that, Black Steel. So,
sorry, no shout out. Thumbs down to fucking Kenya and their bullshit talking about invading Haiti. 2 thumbs down for Kenya. Boo, 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 boo.
Yeah, I meant to bring it up last week actually too. I forgot. But yeah, that's a damn shame. But we can talk about that next week if you guys post a prompt about it. All right, that's the show. I want to thank everyone who tuned in tonight, everyone who's in the playback listening. Post some comments up so we can keep some of these conversations going. Post some comments during the week. We can keep some conversations going. Until next time, you guys be good, be African. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.